800-457-3280.
Pop quiz. What's the most important part of a ship? Don't answer. It's the crow's nest. Know why? Complete visibility. I can see what's on the horizon and my crew pulling the ship together on the deck below. That's how I run the ship, and that's why we use Grainger. Grainger helps us keep a clear eye on our inventory, saving us time, saving us money.
I listened to it like 5 times yesterday.
It's always smooth sailing with Grainger.
It's a great,
Call
it's a catchy song. It's
Far
better
better than the other Saints anthem.
2018 is an opportunity to grow your business.
There will only forever be one true.
Okay, that's not
post
true.
your job to
Two
over 100
true
job
Saints
boards.
Then smart matching technology instantly
of course,
alerts quality
how can
candidates
everybody
about your
forget
job.
Baby
No
boy to
wonder
Prince.
80%
This
of
is the way
employers
we
who post
live,
on
man.
ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day.
ZipRecruiter.
Yeah, remember?
This
is
to
the
try
way we
ZipRecruiter for free, just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Not very good.
And if you listen to it, though, it's like it's got Reggie Bush, Charles Grant, and all that kind of stuff. It was like, yes.
Know why?
I had my buddies make a song. I thought it was better.
I can see what's on the horizon and my crew pulling the ship together on the deck below. That's how I run the ship, and that's why we use Grainger.
I forgot about
Grainger
that
helps
song.
us keep a clear eye on our inventory, saving us time, saving us money, and helping keep everything ship shape. It's always smooth sailing with Grainger. Call clickgrainger.com or stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Used to be odds were the
all right, 2 minutes.
better the pay, but
Did
that
they have-
century-old
by the way,
pattern
Larry, did
is
they have
eroding and all
coats
but gone
at,
for low-wage workers.
Massey's?
A
Do you remember?
Stanford University study found the pay premium has fallen from a high of 50% in the 1980s to only 20% today.
You went to the one in Mid-City?
Comparing salaries at companies with fewer than 100 employees and those with more than 10,000.
Well, at least
and it
it's
was
not that
nearly
far.
0%
I'll
for
go
the
there and
lowest
try.
paid workers and those without a college degree. The slide toward potential oblivion continues for Sears. Unlike
like
most
I
other
bought-
retailers, Sears is
we
reporting a
went to
lousy
Target.
holiday shopping season. It's projecting a fourth quarter loss of $200 or $300
By the way,
million,
by the way,
but that is
thief,
about half of last year's loss.
gave me your
Despite
court
Attorney
that's
General
all
Jeff
jacked up.
Sessions' threats against legal
did?
marijuana, the green rush continues in
nice and
California,
smooth.
where
No
recreational
kidding.
marijuana
Some people
sales
take care of
began
their
the first
things.
of the year. Some
You sabotage me. Some people take care of their
This
things.
is why we can't have nice
This
That's
things.
why we can't have nice things, because people take care of their stuff.
It's
all
like,
says cannabis
it's
business
like he
consultant
twisted
Greta
it
Carter.
cord
Couple years
adapter.
ago,
Boy, I would
they
take
were
care of that.
probably purchased for around 60,000.
Some people take care of their
All right,
things.
1 minute.
Leave it plugged in, and I stole it.
You'd be lucky if you
Leave
could
it pl-
find
I
one
didn't
for
even leave yet. No,
1,000.
Someone
But
saw it there. I thought it was
Thievery.
mine. Thought it was mine. Total thievery.
Is a harsh reality. It's
Some
hard to
people
make it
take
in the
care of
legal
their
cannabis
things.
business.
You were saying a lot of people out here now are
All
buying
right,
acres
so
at $1
are
million
we going to
a pop.
prominently display
They're
the
not all
bag
gonna
of hair?
succeed.
Sure, why
That's
not?
true.
I just don't want it anywhere
Just
near
to
my own
make,
stuff.
just make
Doors
sure
open,
it doesn't.
other states
We don't
show
give
us.
Metro
70%
PCS
fail
any.
A 70% fail rate should strike fear into the
So we'll
heart
do
of
it this way.
anyone investing in pot.
Glad,
But
like
All
right, 30 seconds.
Yes, I did.
like
I don't
it
know
was
why
a-
you're pretending
You
like I
got
would
the,
want someone
This
else's
hasn't
hair.
stopped
got the
people
list?
From trying. At least not yet.
What list?
NBC's
No, Dave. I emailed it. Check your email.
Yeah, Will Guillory, Knox Bardeen, and Katzenstein.
Attaboy.
Yay.
Occupation fighting toilet step stool for just $35,000, sold almost $33 million,
How's the wife?
and is predicting $100
Well, we
million
won't
in the
find
next
out
few
till
years.
Tuesday. Like,
Business
so
News,
yeah.
Joe McConnell in
She's
News
okay,
Radio.
Okay.
Yep. We won't talk about it on YouTube.
Oh, yeah, right, huh? Yeah. Some things just aren't for your consumption, YouTubers.
There's not a lot of people watching, so
We
it's
do
okay.
love you, though.
Yeah. Dunc and Holder on a Friday, January 12th. I feel like everybody's got Who Dat fever. Even Jep's wearing his Tommy Barnhart jersey. You got that on under there?
What are you talking about? You know, we're having something today here at One Canal Place. The entire building, this big skyscraper win, what is it, 30 floors, is meeting down in the lobby at noon today, and they're having a Do the Sean Payton dance off or something. I won't be at that. Larry will probably, Clyde will probably
I
be
will not
dominating
be there.
that.
Again, we talked about this. I am not going down there besmirching my own name. I ain't doing it.
It does characterize the state of the city right now that they're having Do the Sean Payton dance-offs. And understood, man, this is a huge game. Saints have not been in the playoffs for now. This is the first time in 4 years. And I think last week just whetted everybody's appetite. And people are fired up, man. In a frigid day today, we're kind of getting the Minneapolis weather a little bit.
This is not the Minneapolis
weather. A little
weather.
bit. It's a taste of it.
A taste of it. It's going to be 50 degrees colder. 50.
Is that right?
It's like in the 40s right now. It will be 50 degrees colder
I did read
in
somewhere
Minneapolis.
that the humidity, though, that we get down here makes it feel as if
it does.
You're in that kind of close, range of what you're going to get in Minnesota. So I think the thing is, like, you're actually getting it fully when you add in the humidity, too. So
I agree. Thank you, Clyde. I'm glad Clyde's here today.
There's a reason why there's a wind chill factor. It says it feels like 40. It could be 45 outside. Do you understand that does not make up for when you're in Minneapolis and it's actually 0 and it feels like -20? It is not the same. How on planet Earth can either one of you say it's the same? How?
I will say that why in the world do we even have the other temperature? If it feels like it's -20, what's the other one for? What's that other temperature for? Who cares about anything else except what it feels like?
Well, because when the wind blows, it doesn't always blow all the time.
I don't care. If it feels like it's -20, that's all I care about. I don't. What that other temperature must be for, like the light post or something that is an inanimate object. Because human beings, the heat index and the wind chill factor is all that matters. I've said this for years. Meteorologists should not give the regular
crotchety
temperature.
Old man Jeff rant on a Friday.
What it feels like. What it feels like, right? That's what the temperature is in our brains.
Oh, crotchety old man Jeff. Here we go.
Why do we have the
Get
other
on that
temperature?
soapbox.
Why do we have the other temperature? Does it even matter? What's it for? What's the other temperature for? If it feels like it's -20, it's -20.
Not when the wind blows, because it heats up to -5. Put on the heater.
It feels like.
Well, at least none of us will have to deal with that in U.S. Bank Stadium around 3:40 kickoff time, Saints Vikings. Look, we're going to have basically a preview show outside of our first guest because we need to catch up with Will Guillory. We will do that in about 5 or 6 minutes. Will Guillory, of course, covers the Pelicans for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. He went to the Memphis game and saw the disaster. And so he's coming back, and he will be covering tonight in the Smoothie King Center, Pelicans taking on Portland. And I'm sure the conversation is not going to be a pleasant one that we have with Will because I'm sure he is probably tired of covering this back-and-forth team where some nights they give effort, some nights they don't. And I'm sure he's at a loss for words. But we're going to try to get some words out of him in about 5 or 6 minutes. So we'll talk with Will Guillory. Around 10:30, we will head to Atlanta and talk to an old friend of mine, Knox Bardeen. We used to work together at CBSSports.com. Now he works for 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. We will talk with him about the Falcons as they will be in Philadelphia, of course, on Saturday. Eagles, Falcons. I know plenty of people will be paying attention to that game here in New Orleans just to see where the Saints may potentially play if they get to an NFC title game. Josh Katzenstein, top of the 11 o'clock hour, of course, covers the Saints at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. And you'll also hear a couple of quick interviews I did with Von Bell. The Von Bell interview is pretty hilarious because everyone is in the hit the Sean Payton mode, and we discuss the dance moves. We hear the music in the background because Craig Robertson was marching all over the locker room earlier this week with the boombox, hitting the Sean Payton.
What a boombox that was, too. That thing was massive.
I'm surprised the guy can hear today because they were like the speakers were like the ones you get in your car, like the 12-inch booms.
Yeah. It was like old school LL Cool J boombox. It was awesome.
Yes.
Maybe that'll make a comeback, too, along with cassette tapes.
Maybe Beta. You think that's going to make a comeback?
No, I doubt that.
No Beta?
No
That's
Beta.
not going to come back. But
Don't call it a comeback.
Exactly. And also, you'll hear from Larry Warford, of course, Saints guard, and had some interesting thoughts about this team, how far they've come, how resilient the offensive line has been. So we'll hear from Larry Warford later on in the show. And if you want to get involved, and we got some open time, 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. We'll take some phone calls when we can, and when we get guests, you'll have to sit on hold. Sorry.
We also have Larry's cropped hair here on the set. It had been riding around the backseat of my car for, about a week and a half, and I discovered it in a bag.
You discovered it. You swept it up
No.
off Tracy's floor and took it.
This was Jeff Carrera's idea.
And you are now literally holding the bag.
I did not remember putting it in the backseat of my car, but a friend of mine who was riding with me exclaimed, "What the what is this?"
Jeff is trying to frame me for murder or something.
So what am I supposed to do with it now? I mean, I didn't know what to do with it, so I brought it in here. It now is on our set.
So now the bag of hair is sitting next to the brow.
Does hair hold up? Does it? I mean, I have no idea. Does it hold up over time?
Don't think so. Don't think it does.
I mean, is it
decays.
eventually going to dissolve, or what's going to happen to it?
Clyde, you're an expert of all things trivial knowledge.
You know this kind of thing.
Expert of all things
on
trivial
you.
knowledge, except when it comes to DNA and how
forensic science.
Forensic science and what happens to hair
Bag
when
of
it's
hair.
not connected to said follicle because it would continue to grow. It's not going to continue to grow.
If we leave this bag here for, let's just hypothetically say, 10 years, will that hair still be in that bag, or will it?
A little bit of it, yes.
He says with confidence.
Did you just
A little bit of it,
Wikipedia
yes.
that?
No, I didn't Wikipedia that. I've got the YouTube stream up. Shout out to our YouTubers. No, the hair will still be there, but I mean, hello, if it's not connected to said hair source, it's not going to continue to grow, obviously, so it's going to start to decay. That's what happens.
Well, I guess we're going to find out as each day we're going to document if the hair
No, I just think we
holds
should
up
throw
or
it
not.
away. I just think we should throw it away. Just saying. I think we should just junk it.
When-
no one's going to miss it.
No.
When Jeff commits some sort of crime, as in like he runs through a stoplight and gets another
Got
red
booted.
light ticket,
Got booted last week.
you're going to throw the hair on the ground and say it wasn't
Speaking of,
me.
I got to pay
My
that
buddy
ticket off
drove
I
my
got
car.
last week.
That'll work, yeah. My buddy drove my car. That's right. That
The
worked
Sean
for
Jackson
Deshaun Jackson
defense.
with the hollow point bullets.
all
What's
right.
worse, hollow point bullets or a bag of Larry's hair?
I'm going to the YouTubers on this one. Val is saying that hair will stay. It won't decay anytime soon. So that's what she says.
Thank you, Val.
So there's going to be a big piece of me forever. Eric Ash is already chiming in that we need to spread it all over U.S. Bank Stadium, like on the field when we go on the field.
I don't
every
think
game.
we should mess up someone else's field when we come in. That's terrible guestship. That's terrible being a terrible guest.
It would fit in with the Nordic kind of Viking skull mentality.
Yeah.
Skull.
It's our
Or you could just
it's our scalping. We pillaged.
I would tell
US
you to
Bank Stadium.
get like a tiny boat and then like set it out adrift in some one of the waters of Lake Minnetonka and then set it on fire like a Viking funeral.
Give it a Viking funeral, exactly.
Yeah, Viking funeral. Light it on fire. So
I'm not
that's
going to
safe.
light anything on fire. I'm just not going to do it.
Yeah, well, because we don't trust you with that, so that's fine.
Well, my hair,
Hair
would
on fire.
stink.
That would be gross.
It would
No,
stink.
you
We
send it
veered
out.
into
No,
a
you
weird
send
area
it
here.
out so that it
That's
burns
probably some
out
kind
and
of
then the
voodoo
boat burns.
ritual too. We don't want to go into that area. You don't want to mess with things you don't understand.
Oh Lord.
I'm not going to commit arson. Just like, remember back in 2013, the playoffs, when unnamed photographer tried to organize a Saints Rocky run in Philadelphia,
Yes.
up the stairs and go, and all of a sudden he became local news where even like the local broadcasters were saying and giving threats, basically. Don't do it.
I mean, that
That's 'cause
sounds
that's
like Philly.
That's Philly.
That's Philly, man.
They're Philly fan. They're like crazy people.
They're crazy people, but without any of the charm that Saints fans have.
I will say smartly, our unnamed photographer bailed and canceled the Saints Rocky run smartly. Yeah.
Well, at the same time, though, if worse comes to worse, if it ends up being a Saints Eagles NFC title game in Philly, why not see if you can do it again?
We'll have Clyde organize that, and I will be
I'm
far,
not
far
scared.
away.
I'm not scared, man.
I will be far, far away.
It's always sunny in Philadelphia.
Oh, my gosh. Lame plug.
Love that show.
Brutal.
Love it.
Anyway, let's get out of lame plugs and let's talk Pelicans. Coming up next, Will Guillory of NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune will join us here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
Your shot at $1,000 now. Text the keyword.
Y'all enjoy this. The Pelicans have had the following record since December 1st. This 11 and 11, 12 and 12, 13 and 13, 14 and 14, 15 and 15, 16 and 16, 18 and 18, 19 and 19, and now 20 and 20.
Being a better person.
They are the pillar of consistency.
No, it's
Consistency.
unbelievable.
That's
I looked
consistency.
at that same stats.
Now we're talking. Keep listening for your chance to win Pels tickets on Sports 1280 New Orleans. You're the kind of guy I want to hang out with. Hey, thanks. I was being sarcastic.
Pop quiz. What's the most important part of a ship? Don't answer. It's the crow's nest.
So
know
there's
why?
a band, a New
Complete
Orleans band
visibility.
that plays
I can see what's on the
Beastie
horizon.
Boys covers.
And my
They're
crew
called
pulling the ship
Sabotage.
together on the deck.
Oh,
Really?
yeah, I've seen them. Yeah.
That's how I run this
You've
ship.
seen them? I
And that's
didn't
why
even
we
know
use
they
Granger.
existed. I'd be all
Granger
over these
helps us
guys.
keep
I'd
we
love
got
to go.
Will.
Thanks.
inventory.
They played
I'd
with
love to go.
Tipitinas
Saving us
last
money
night.
And helping keep
Yes.
everything
I love
ship
the
shape.
Beasties.
It's always smooth
I know, it'd be
sailing with
awesome.
Granger.
They're playing
Call
in
clickgranger.com
Jackson,
or
Mississippi
stop
tonight,
by.
and
Granger,
tomorrow they're in
for the
Pensacola.
ones who get it done.
It's pretty cool.
2018 is an opportunity to grow your business with top
Oh
talent.
yes, I was messing
But
with
how
your
do you
mic
find
because
it?
I don't think it's all the way
ZipRecruiter.
in.
Oh, I didn't know what was
Like the
going on.
stand, like it might.
100
Yeah,
job
you might
boards.
want to like
Then
tinker with
smart
it.
matching technology instantly alerts quality
enough.
candidates about your job. No
Does it
wonder
bother you?
80% of employers.
Well, it
focus
might
on ZipRecruiter
fall off
get
in the middle-
quality
yeah, there you
candidate
go.
to the site
Fall
in
off.
just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
To try ZipRecruiter
Yeah, it bothers
for
me
free,
just like
just
the
go to
twisty cord you gave me.
ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's
And the bag of hair doesn't bother me as much as the
ZipRecruiter.com/free.
twisty cord.
We're changing chords. I'm not going to listen to this for the
Because
rest
more
of my
people
life.
have had their someone
I'm
on
changing
match
some
than
people
any other
take
dating
care
app.
of their things.
Everyone wants to
The-
find that meaningful connection.
The adapter,
And
the
matches not only
charging
one and
adapter
first,
on your
but
phone.
second dates
Some
too.
people
Now,
take
here's
care.
your
I will
offer
say
for our
this. This is
listeners.
nice
Go to
and smooth.
Match.com
Yeah, no kidding.
What's wrong with
party
that?
for 7 days free.
It's like how to
That's
get all
7
twisted
days
up. You
completely
sure it
free
was like
to
that?
search, view photos, and
Are you
connect.
sure?
I've
This
seen it
free offer is
exit
found
your
at
bag
Match.com
more times than I
party.
need to imagine,
That's
and
Match.com
I've seen it all
/party.
twisted up.
Exit your bag.
Match.com/party.
The 4 for $4 from Wendy's
Yeah.
has a lot
Yeah.
of fans because it's a deal that gives you a sandwich plus 4 nuggets, a small fry, and drink, all for just $4. But now the 4 for $4 has more variety than ever with 8 sandwich choices.
I'm loyal to the double stack.
I'm Junior Bacon Cheeseburger through and through.
I pace myself to the crispy chicken sandwich.
I'm loyal
Watches the show.
to my hunger.
Whether you're
Nice.
loyal to one
Watches it.
sandwich
Watches
or
the
all
show.
8,
Wow.
Wendy's
Awesome.
4 for $4 has a sandwich for
He
you.
was
So try them all
speaking
and
of
pick
the
your
agent.
favorite. Now that's delicious.
He goes, "You
Yeah.
guys are awesome."
My
Well,
kind of guy.
Then he proceeded to like bend my ear for about a half
This
hour.
is Dr. Ned
Naturally.
Hallowell
I was
for
like,
ADHD Awareness
That's
Month.
what happens, man.
Many people
No.
think that having ADHD means something is wrong with them, when in fact, if managed properly, it can be your greatest asset. I know because I have it myself. People with ADHD have
Same
race car
stance, they're
brains
nervous.
with bicycle
I
brakes.
get the feeling they're nervous.
Oh,
Once
yeah.
they learn to control their brakes,
Everyone I
they'll
talked to
win
last night
races.
was nervous.
For tips on managing
think
ADHD,
that's fair.
listen to
Yeah,
my
it's just-
weekly podcast,
The anxiety of a big
Distraction
game.
Podcast.
Yeah, coming back.
All right.
I'm an Indian outlaw.
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280 New Orleans.
I don't know if Will Guillory's used to this. Country Fried Friday, not Wobble Wobble Wednesday.
He's out of his element.
I know. I don't know if is this your element, Will Guillory? Do you have like some cowboy boots and some chaps you can throw on, or you're really feeling bizarre right now?
I definitely don't have cowboy boots or chaps, and I feel like I'm playing a bit of a road game, but that's fine though. I'm good on the road. We can handle this. I'm fine.
I respect that. I do respect that because he knows he's coming in a different element and he's going to bring it anyway.
Unlike the Pelicans,
Exactly.
they brought nothing to the road when they went to Memphis and lost to. Are they still the worst team in the Western Conference? Is that still accurate, or maybe they're like a half game not being the
I
worst?
believe they're at the bottom, but if not, it might be like a half a game up. But they're right there at the bottom.
Well, Will, you witnessed that in person in all of its non-glory. 40 games in, 20-20. I feel like the conversation has molded from in the weeks we talk with you. Okay, we're waiting to see something. Okay, we're starting to see something, and now this is what we see, and it doesn't seem like it's changing. What's your impressions of this team 40 games in?
I mean, it's just the inconsistency. It's the up and down. One stretch they'll look good, one stretch they'll look bad. It's just that they're consistently unable to just establish any kind of momentum. It's crazy. It's just, and it's usually the crazy thing about it is always something different. They've had one stretch that they played some good defense, and they've been terrible on defense for a long stretch. They were one of the best offensive teams in the league during December, and now they can't make a shot during January. They scored 9 points in the third quarter against Memphis. So it's just they're unable to establish any kind of identity and any kind of rhythm, and it's crazy that they're still right there in the playoff race and right there. I mean, Portland's coming in tonight, and they're in the 5 seed, and if they beat Portland tonight, they'll be a half a game behind Portland for the 5 seed. So it's kind of insane what's going on in the West. But if they could just get anything going, they can move up the standings in the West. But it's just they haven't been able to do that.
Hey, Will, I wanted to ask you, go back to that Memphis game because I watched it, and it looked like a classic case of them feeling like they could almost push a button and get that win, and they came up just short at the end. But the last play, was that designed? Did Alvin talk about that? Was that designed to go to Cousins? I didn't see any quotes about that. I wasn't sure if that was how they drew it up, or they just kind of let them make up their mind how they were going to attack Memphis on that.
Yeah, I think the plan was because Marc Gasol was dealing with foul trouble for a lot of that game. Then Memphis decided to shift JaMychal Green onto him. So the Pelicans thought, hey, if we can ISO DeMarcus on the JaMychal Green one-on-one, that's a guy that's probably a little too small to handle DeMarcus.
Yep.
So they thought if we can just isolate him out of the top of the key, maybe DeMarcus would get to the rim. But Gasol did a really good job helping off the perimeter off of Darius Miller. DeMarcus probably should have made that pass over to Darius Miller for the three. But, he was trying to just make a play, trying to put everything on his back, and it kind of backfired on him. And the crazy thing was, coming back, each one more got a pretty good look at the three to tie the game, but he just missed it.
Yeah, that was a great look.
So I think that's not the play you really want out of DeMarcus, turning the ball over. And, it's something that he does a lot in those situations, turning the ball over when he's dribbling from the top of the key. I don't have to tell you that, Jeff. But I think that's kind of the look they wanted. It's just that DeMarcus didn't make the pass that was available to him.
Will Guillory covers the Pelicans for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. And, Will, you look at the standings, and you were talking about, look, if they could win a game or two, they could jump up in the standings pretty quickly. You look at 5 through 8 right now. Let's see. Portland's lost their last game. OKC, Denver, they've both lost their last 3 games. But let's be honest, the Clippers have won 3 in a row, and now we're only a half game back of the Pelicans. So there's no margin for error at this rate, right?
Oh, yeah, there's zero margin for error. And a few weeks ago, we were kind of looking at it as, hey, the Pelicans are struggling, but the top 8 seeds in the West are pretty much locked in with the way the Clippers and the Utah has been struggling. We talked about that a while ago. But now Lou Williams has somehow turned into the top scorer in the league, dropped 50 on the Warriors the other night. So, the Clippers are really hot. They're playing with a lot of confidence, and now you have to start feeling a little bit pressure if you're the Pelicans. If they keep struggling, you might find yourself on the outside looking into the playoff race, and then the alarm bells really have to start going off over there on Airline. And another part of that is also the Pelicans have already played a lot of these teams 5 through 8 a lot already. This is going to be a third game against Portland coming up tonight. They've already played the Clippers. They've already played Utah a few times. They've played Denver a few times as well. So it's not like you can kind of beat those teams and make your way back. And you're going to have to do this and hope those teams are losing alongside you. So if the Clippers don't start slowing down and the Pelicans keep struggling, they can see themselves in the 9 seed really soon, and that would be a disaster for this team.
Yeah, Will, what's the frustration level like with the Pelicans right now? I know it's a long season, and you can't overreact to one loss. You've got to kind of maintain an even keel. But I'm just curious, how was Alvin after the game? He's got to be frustrated to some degree because we're now almost halfway through the season.
Yeah, absolutely. Alvin's really frustrated. And just like I said earlier, it's just the inconsistency, just this team unable to really establish who they're going to be on a night-to-night basis. And the players, when you talk to DeMarcus and AD, those guys, they kind of keep the company line, hey, it's a long season. We don't want to get frustrated. We don't want to look too far down the line. But you have to think that with the expectations they came into the season with, everybody on that roster was saying, hey, this is the year. Hey, we're all in for this season. We want to get to the playoffs. Just to be so at 500 at this point, just 500, just every aspect of the team it just has to be frustrating for everybody involved. And I think a few years back when they went to the playoffs, they kind of dealt with this, kind of being 500 the whole way through, and they got hot late. And they're kind of putting their hopes that maybe they can kind of do that same thing here. But if they're unable to kind of establish some kind of, hey, this is who we're going to be every night, whether we're at home or on the road, whether AD's playing or not, I don't see how they can really do that. And it has to start on the defensive end. They got to remain committed on the defensive end. And if they can't kind of find that, they're going to have to find some other people to play, because at this point you can't be a bottom 5 defensive team and think you're going to remain, one of the top 8 teams in the West, just because with the Clippers coming up, there's a lot of competition for those top 8 spots. And if you're giving up 110 and 105 against some of the worst teams in the league, then what are you going to do when you're playing against the Warriors of the world?
Will Guillory, NOLA.com, Times-Picayune, covers the Pelicans. Join us right here on Dunc and Holder. Of course, you can listen to Pelicans basketball. They'll take on the Portland Trail Blazers tonight, Smoothie King Center, 7 o'clock tip. You can listen to that on our sister station, 99.5 FM WRNO. Will, you said find some players to get it done. Do you think they're going to be active in the near future come trade deadline time?
Yeah, I think this team is definitely very active on the trade market. I think they're looking for some wing help, but I think Tony Allen having a setback recently kind of put them in the corner where they went out and got DeAndre Liggins on a 10-day contract. And I think they're kind of looking around at the roster and they're saying Solomon Hill probably won't be back till after the All-Star break. Tony Allen is dealing with some injury issues, so they don't really have a true wing defender on this team. And that's kind of been the question with what they're doing with this three-guard lineup and that kind of stuff. So they have to find some more depth on the wing, some bigger guys that can defend the Kevin Durant's, the Giannis's, the Ben Simmons' of the world. And it's tough when you're asking Drew Holiday and Etor Moore to defend those guys just because they're at such a size disadvantage. And also I think that plays a part in their struggles on the rebounding as well, just because we talked about this before, how much they depend on DeMarcus and AD to pretty much get every single rebound, and that's why they lose some of these offensive rebounding battles, just because it's tough to expect those guys to get every single rebound. So I think they're going to be active looking for those kind of guys, and I think they're going to be active looking for maybe another shooter. I think they were super hot in December, and I think they're falling off a little bit as late. They might be kind of regressing to the mean. I think if you could add one more shooter to this group, it'll help a lot just to give that space that AD and DeMarcus need when they're down in the paint.
Yeah, the addition of DeAndre Liggins, I assume, was because of the setback that Tony Allen had?
Yeah. And they're expecting Tony to probably be out in another 2 to 4 weeks. Liggins, I mean, he's one of the it's rare that you get a guy kind of that fits what you need so well, and he can fit into the locker room as well as DeAndre can. Obviously, he's a former Kentucky guy. I know you love
Obviously.
that,
Does Dell know there are other schools that do produce basketball players? Does Dell know that? I'm just curious.
At this point, I'm not sure they do. I think they're just looking for Kentucky guys. I think that's the plan. And obviously he has a relationship with DeMarcus. They played at Kentucky together. So I think he's fit in already really well in the locker room. I think his defense would be a big help. But, he struggles on the offensive end, and if he's going to be one of those guys that teams are going to just leave open, kind of like the Robersons of the world kind of thing, then I think that might be tough to keep him on the floor. But just having somebody that's going to show up and play hard every night on defense, I think that's really important for this team. And I think the more he plays, I think that'll help this team overall.
Will Guillory covers the Pelicans for NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. You can follow all of his coverage tonight. Pelicans taking on the Portland Trailblazers at Smoothie King Center, 7 o'clock tip. And, of course, will have all the coverage at NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Hey, Will, get yourself a cowboy hat, maybe a triangle so you can join a little country band. You got to be prepared if you come on Country Fried Friday. Got to be prepared.
Can you do the Sean Payton to country music? I'm not sure. I've never tried. I don't know if I can really catch the rhythm, but maybe I'll try it this time.
There should be a remix.
I'm sure you can do it to some King Chesney. I'm sure he'd love that.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
Oh, boy. All right, Will. Thanks, buddy. Take care.
All right, I appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Will.
All right, coming up next here, we will shift over to the other NFC divisional playoff game. Falcons-Eagles. We'll talk with Knox Bardeen of 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. So we will talk with him next. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder.
Excuse me for trying to do my job, but this year ain't been no bumper crowd.
Your forecast on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
This report is brought to you by Louisiana Lottery.
Happy Friday from the Fox 8 Weather Center. I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. A windy and colder day on tap as temperatures stay in the 40s but feel like the 30s. We'll see some peaks of sun through the clouds as we head into the afternoon hours, and temperatures tonight under clear skies will drop into the 20s on the North Shore and low 30s on the South Shore. From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
Join the parade this season and play Fat Tuesday from the lottery. Win up to $12,000. Get in the second line and ask for
good
Fat
question.
Tuesday.
Are we doing a show Monday?
Today. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
We're in Minneapolis.
You hear it a lot from people on Match.
Gotcha.
Because more people have met their
That makes
someone on
sense,
Match
too.
than
Okay,
any
great.
other dating
from
app.
iHeart.
Everyone wants to find that meaningful connection. And Match is not only number one in
Yeah, that's
first,
where we
but
did it,
second dates,
first.
too.
Now here's a free offer for our listeners.
Easy
Go to
setup,
match.com/party for 7 days
I'm
free.
a little worried
That's
that
7 days
there's no one
completely
gonna be
free
there.
to search, view photos,
Said
and
the offices are
connect.
closed.
This free offer
worried
is
we're gonna
found
get
at
there
match.com/party.
and no one's gonna
That's
be there.
match.com/party.
I mean, who do we talk to?
NOLA.com/party.
The 4 for 4 from Wendy's has a lot of fans
I need
because
to-
it's
I'm
a
gonna
deal
email
that gives
Jeremy.
you a sandwich plus 4 nuggets, a small fry, and drink.
All right, we got Knox.
But
Sweet.
now the 4 for 4 has more variety than ever with 8 sandwich choices.
I'm loyal to the double stack.
I'm Junior Bacon Cheeseburger through and through.
I pledge myself to the crispy chicken sandwich. I'm loyal to my hunger.
Whether you're loyal to one sandwich or all 8, the Wendy's 4 for 4 has a sandwich for you. So try them all and pick your favorite. Now that's deliciously different.
At participating Wendy's for a limited time. Offer not valid in Alaska and Hawaii. Habitat for Humanity builds houses and so much more. A Habitat build site is where hanging a door opens a world of opportunity, where turning a screw turns the page, and where a simple key can unlock a brighter future. You see, Habitat for Humanity builds houses and so much more. What will you build? Visit
All right, coming back.
Okay.
to learn more.
Learn what our insiders know about your home teams. Sports 1280 New Orleans.
Welcome back, Duncan Holder. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, Clyde Verdun here with you in our NOLA.com Times-Picayune studios. And pleased to be joined by my old CBSSports.com buddy in crime, Knox Bardeen. Now he's with 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. And Knox, through the years of Saints-Falcons, how much do you feel like this rivalry has just gotten overboard, insane, crazy? I mean, do you deal with people when you're on the air screaming and cursing about the Saints and, like half of New Orleans likes to do about the Falcons?
Absolutely, and it's gotten worse over the past couple of years. I'll tell you, just yesterday, Ike Reese came on our air here and said that the city of Philadelphia breathed a sigh of relief because they were facing the Falcons instead of the Saints. And that didn't blow up here in Atlanta because it was the Eagles disrespecting us. It was the fact that the Eagles had somehow said the Saints were better than the Falcons. It turned into a Saints-Falcons flame war on air. It was fantastic.
Of course, anytime Saints and Falcons fans could, throw haymakers at each other, they're going to do it. I could tell. But look, Saints taking on the Vikings, Eagles taking on the Falcons, and I'm not sure if we've ever seen a 6 seed be the favorite on the road against a 1 seed in the divisional round. Are you surprised at that number? And how do you feel like the Falcons are playing overall as they're heading up to face the Eagles?
They're trending in a couple of different directions. And first off, the defense is trending very well. This has turned into what feels like a top 10 defense here. So anytime you hear the old adage, defense travels, so does the run game. In both those regards, the Falcons are doing very well. But as you know, this Falcons offense is just a shell of itself from last season. Scoring's down almost a third, and it's the same personnel basically. So everyone is still trying to figure out, and that's been the biggest question all year long is, was Shanahan really the answer? How come this Falcons offense can't duplicate last year? But the defense has pulled them right along. So I think, they're going exactly where Dan Quinn wants them.
What's the feeling in Atlanta, Knox, about that offensive inconsistency you talked about? Is it strictly, hey, new coordinator Steve Sarkisian, or is it more complicated than that?
I think that remains to be seen, and I'll explain that like this. You guys remember when Shanahan first got here, he and Matt Ryan didn't get along. The offense didn't do very well. This offense didn't turn into what everyone saw last year until the second year of Shanahan-Ryan. Everyone's kind of looking at this saying, well, if next year we get the same kind of bounce, then everything's cool. But if next year it's still a 22, 23-point offense and it's still the same personnel, then a lot of people are going to be wondering, well, did everyone just play bonkers in 16 and have their career year all at the same time? Is that how it worked? Is this roster not as good as we think it is?
Knox Bardeen, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. We've seen Deion Jones victimize the Saints more often than maybe any Falcons defender in the last few years. Just how far has he come from getting to Atlanta, even year one, and now in year two, he's being known as one of the better linebackers in the NFL?
Absolutely. And the first thing that popped at you when he first got here was his speed. But it took him a couple, let's say, 6, 7, 8 games that first year to get the defense down pat. But after that, it was almost an epiphany, a light bulb moment where he started seeing the defense in slow motion and was able to really move people around to where he wanted to, was able to, over this offseason, learn the communication tools he needed to learn to become the NFL middle linebacker that you see right now. It's just gravy on the mashed potatoes that he keeps pick-sixing and intercepted in the end zone against the Saints, where he's happens to be from, mind you. His lore is growing and growing here in Atlanta because he's a Saints killer. Everyone in this town loves him.
Knox, here in New Orleans, everybody is already kind of in the back of their minds allowing themselves to envision a potential Saints-Falcons NFC Championship game. Are you all getting that over in Atlanta at all? I know everybody's got the one game at a time mantra, but if that were to happen, can you imagine what it would be like, Saints-Falcons, for all the marbles in the NFC?
That is already one of the loudest places that the Falcons play every year when they go to New Orleans. It would be blowing the roof off loud, I can imagine. It would be a fantastic atmosphere. I'll be completely honest with you. When seeding wasn't quite yet determined yet as the playoffs were starting, everyone here was hoping that the Falcons would go to L.A. because no one really wanted to start in New Orleans. That's the last place anyone here in Atlanta wants the path to the Super Bowl to go through is New Orleans, because it's been such a tough place to play for Atlanta for such a long time. But I tell you what, to see these two NFC South teams, if that's what it has to be to go to the Super Bowl, that might be a game for the ages.
Knox Bardeen, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. What does Atlanta need to do to go to Philadelphia and win? We know the quarterback situation. I'm sure they're going to try to navigate their way around it. But what do the Falcons need to do to go pick up a win in Philadelphia?
They have to run the football. I think if you're going to ask this offense to do anything extraordinary, tomorrow, it's going to be run the football against an extremely good run defense. If you get that out of the way, get that established, and that could open things up for the passing game, Matt Ryan out to Julio Jones. And there was a very interesting report that came out earlier this week that the Eagles were considering single coverage on Julio Jones, not shifting a safety over to help out, which everyone here kind of laughed about because the last two teams that tried that, Julio put up 253 and 300 on. So, but I think establishing the run is the most important thing for this Falcons team. It's just it's a tough team to run against.
Yeah, I think that's a great point in this game. I have no idea. What's the weather supposed to be like in Philadelphia? Have you looked at that yet?
Cold, but not really a lot of precipitation. Sorry, but it's going to get cold. So that if that's what we get, that's probably not best case scenario, but it's worse. It's better than it could be.
Yeah, I could see this being a fairly low scoring game, can't you? The way the Falcons defense is playing right now, I think it could come down to who forces the most turnovers or creates takeaways for their offense, short fields, that kind of thing, because Atlanta's defense is playing lights out, and I think Philly is going to come with their A game defensively.
Absolutely, and you said create turnovers is one of the big things. It didn't happen for the Falcons during most of the regular season. It started happening of late, so that's a good thing. And I tell you what, low scoring, and this is weird to say coming from Atlanta and the offense that was last year, but all it takes is 20 points. This Atlanta Falcons team is 11-0 this season if they reach that magic number of 20. So 20-19 would work for Falcons fans.
Knox Bardeen, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. Hey, Knox, appreciate the time, and maybe we'll be talking Saints-Falcons NFC title game. If that's the case, you better get down here and be a part of the madness that would be Saints-Falcons here in the Superdome.
Yeah, I'm one of the co-hosts on the Falcons pre-game show, and I would imagine that we would probably travel that whole show down there. That would be, like I just said, that would be an epic matchup, and I will definitely get down there for that.
There you go, Knox. Hey, bud, good talking to you. It's been a long time, and good hearing from you.
Yeah, anytime. Take care.
All right, that's Knox Bardeen, 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. And, Jeff, yeah, it's not just us in New Orleans. It's certainly them in Atlanta anticipating a Saints-Falcons NFC title game. Now, it's funny that we talk this way and people around town talk this way. I mean, one team has to beat the number 1 seed, and the other team has to beat the number 2 seed.
But don't you feel like both games are 50-50? I really feel that's why there's no New England Patriots in the NFC this year, or even the Pittsburgh Steelers that are prohibitive favorites. These two top seeds are very vulnerable because I think their quarterbacks aren't their real starting quarterbacks.
The best matchups are in the NFC. I think the NFC is going to be way more compelling because, I mean, the AFC, you're just pretty much, I think everybody's waiting for New England and Pittsburgh to meet again and hopefully not have this game come down to was it a catch, was it not a catch, was it a fumble, was it not a fumble, and interception in the end zone.
Well, whoever wins the AFC, assuming it's either Pittsburgh or New England, I think is going to be a prohibitive favorite in the Super Bowl against whoever emerges from the NFC.
I'm wondering how much of a favorite we're talking weeks beyond, but if, say, the Saints and Drew Brees and their star power gets up against either Pittsburgh or New England, I would almost feel like that team would, A, be the most favorable out of the NFC to get to the Super Bowl, because if Philly gets there, it would be probably a miracle, even though it's a big market.
We got a mark in Georgia.
I would just figure that Saints either against Ben Roethlisberger or against Tom Brady, I think that would be, as far as TV ratings and all, would be bring the most star power.
Which one? Big Ben against who?
Either Breeze versus Roethlisberger or Breeze versus Brady.
Oh yeah, no question.
Yeah,
but the quarterback star power.
Yes,
Drew brings and we've talked about it. I mean, I think Drew, he'll never admit it publicly, but he knows. I mean, him getting back to another Super Bowl is huge for his legacy. And if he could win another one, he would join, I think there's 12 quarterbacks that have won multiple Super Bowls ever. All of them are in the Hall of Fame or are currently still playing, like Brady and Roethlisberger and Eli. But all of them are in the Hall of Fame except Jim Plunkett. Jim Plunkett's the only multiple winning Super Bowl quarterback not in the Hall.
All right, let's hit a phone caller, and then we'll take a break right here on the show. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved.
Mark, Georgia.
Let's go to Georgia and talk with Mark. Hey, Mark, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Hey, man, what's going on, man? Calling in. I feel good about this game, man. I really do, man. I feel really great about this game with the Saints, man. I think the first game, it's a lot. Guys was ironically Adrian Peterson. I mean, having to get him in, really didn't get to see what we've grown to see this year, especially like with the use of Mark and particularly Alvin Kamara. I'm looking forward to the matchup, particularly with Alvin Kamara, maybe on Kendricks.
Yeah, Eric Kendricks probably.
I think we win that matchup, man. And I think we're gonna hit them with something that they haven't seen. They're not going to be ready for it. They're going to be prepared. They're going to prepare for it. I don't think they're going to be ready for it, man.
Hey, Mark, appreciate the phone call out in Georgia. And I think that's, if you're going to look at an aspect of this game, and here's the thing. I think Mark is right. They're going to be prepared for it. I mean, they've seen it on film. They've got a season's worth now of Saints offensive game film that they're going to study and try to mimic in practice. But it is, when you get on the field, it's one thing to prepare, it's one thing to get it done. A la, remember the second matchup, Ron Rivera said, we prepared all we could for Alvin Kamara, and they couldn't stop him. Now, they took him out in this game, this past game, and yet the Saints were able to beat him in another way. So I'm curious to see how the Vikings handle Alvin Kamara, because I feel like the Saints are going to try to get him involved as much as possible, because it didn't happen that first game. That wasn't the way the offense is running yet.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think Alvin Kamara is the key playmaker for the Saints on Sunday, and how Minnesota defends him, how the Saints try to utilize him in space could be the key to the Saints scoring enough points to win or not, because I don't think they're going to get a lot of big plays downfield in the passing game. Mike Thomas is probably going to get some 20-yard catches, things like that. But getting these big chunk plays, they just don't give them up. I think they lead the league in fewest 20-plus yard receptions by a pretty wide margin. So they're going to have to move the ball down the field in bites and hopefully execute when they get to the red zone. And I'm sure Sean Payton and his offensive staff have burned the midnight oil this week trying to come up with some really inventive, creative plays to get the ball in the end zone because they didn't do that in the first game, and that's one of Minnesota's strengths.
All I know is you look at the Minnesota defensive stats across all the major categories. There's a lot of ones, a couple of twos, but mostly ones. Like they're
mostly ones.
Excellent in every aspect on
I know,
defense,
it's
which
amazing.
could be a major challenge.
There's no weakness in any aspect or personnel-wise. I mean, every level of the defense. And they pretty much – I know they blitz a lot on third down, but they pretty much play straight up. They're not going to have to, I think I'll be surprised if they try to load the box the way Carolina did to shut down the running game. I think they feel like their personnel is good enough to stop it with their front seven alone. We'll see. I mean, I have no idea, but I think that's probably how they'll go into it, knowing how Mike Zimmer coaches that defense.
Yep. Let's take a break right here on the show. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. We got a couple of open segments where we'll be talking, breaking down the game, so if you want to get involved, feel free. Top of the 11 o'clock hour, we'll have Josh Katzenstein, of course, covers the Saints with us here at NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. You'll also hear from Saints guard Larry Warford and Saints safety Von Bell. We will also make our playoff picks, and I'm sure I'm going to screw them up. I screw up every pick. Maybe not the Saints pick, but every other pick.
Pretty much.
Typically. Thanks,
Yeah,
Clyde.
no faith.
I was waiting for you to
You're welcome.
chime in. I was staring at you, waiting for you to just.
I know. I just wanted to find the right time to interject.
Clyde.
To interject.
Usually
and then
it's
come
just
back out.
whenever you want, right?
I think I have a new name, Clyde the Snide.
Snide Clyde?
He's Snide.
That's fair. That's a
Perfect
good one.
word
That's actually
for
a good
Clyde.
one. Yeah.
All right. Tune up some Hootie for me, Dave, to ruin Clyde's life here on Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Duncan Holder. God, I love Hootie.
So some guy wrote for the DailyNorseman.com, okay, which I guess is one of their blog sites, just ripping Peyton.
Oh.
He said there's a file, looks like, they play the looks like game with Peyton, and they say it looks like
Nothing
Ralphie
changes
from
America
Christmas
like a
Story.
role model. I had one growing
They
up.
could
My
do
name is
the
John
Malcolm
Hope
in the
Bryant.
middle.
We're
Let's
a
see the
Sioux
other
State.
ones. We
That's
haven't
what
talked
my
about
dad
Gotta
was
be
when I was
Malcolm in the
growing up.
middle.
The kids
We
want
may
to
have
be
to
rap
talk about
stars,
this. We can talk
athletes,
about
and
it
drug
next
dealers,
segment. Yeah, that's what
all
I'm
too
saying.
often because
Let's
that's
see.
what they see
Sean
in their
Payton looks
neighborhood.
like-
My mission now is to give them something different to see,
look
and
at
you
this
play a
file.
role in
It's all
it.
about
It's called
Peyton.
America 2020 and Hope Business
we'll
in
do it
the
next
Box
segment.
Academies.
Yeah,
Go to
let's do
OperationHope.org today and join the movement.
Sean Payton looks like a
Make
dad who
school
tries
cool
too hard to be friends
once
with his
again.
daughter's boyfriend.
Visit us on the web.
Sean
Wow.
Payton looks like he's still bitter
The
about
mortgage
losing
crisis
the
may not
custody
have the
battle for a
attention it
Cocker
had
Spaniel
before, but
to his
many
ex-wife
people are
10 years
still
ago.
dealing
Oh
with
my
this every
God.
day. I'm the founder of Operation
Oh,
Hope.
dear.
My name is John Hope Bryant. Losing your home is unthinkable. Let Operation Hope.
All right, 1 minute. We got a Martin in Dallas.
Okay.
Martin in Dallas.
Application, or take other steps to avoid foreclosure. Call Operation Hope on our 24-hour-a-day hotline at 888-388-HOPE.
You got it?
888
Yep, got it.
673.
It's time for some straight talk. You have their unlimited plan. So
But
why
I
do
do
you keep running
appreciate
out of
when
high-speed
you know I'm
data?
like, didn't
Never run
get
out
the
again
guess,
with
and
Straight
as
Talk's
soon as
new
I'm
Ultimate
about to say it, you chime it in my ear, and I'm like, thank you.
I could sense that you might be stalling a little bit, so.
Because otherwise it'd be like, Dave, who we got?
Right.
Only at Walmart.
Video typically
This
streams
guy
at
just
DVD
goes off
quality.
on
Please
Peyton.
refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at
He goes, I'll quit
straighttalk.com.
sugarcoating. Sean Payton's
Hi, I'm Nick
kind of an
Jonas,
asshole.
and I'm here to tell you about Think It Up, a new initiative to activate student-powered
Wonderful.
teacher-led
Well,
learning
wonderful.
projects. Students and teachers, how can you spark
Peyton could be a
great learning
special
experiences in
brand
your
of
classroom
analog.
today?
Kind of what
Join
makes
us
him good.
Coming back.
All right.
This is Duncan Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
You see, Clyde, when your name is on the show, you get to make requests.
Right, kind of like the last time I told, like one of the last times, I think it was a week ago, 2 weeks ago, I just told Dave, play the music, he started playing the music. I think I get a little more respect here than I think you think I get.
Well, all I know is
By
Clyde.
the way, I actually
Snide Clyde.
I actually
Clyde.
like this song by Darius. Like, this is actually one of my more favorite country Darius Rucker songs.
No, it's Hootie.
It's Darius Rucker.
Hootie.
Pretty sure.
This debate's never going to die.
What does it say on the track, Dave?
Hootie. It says whatever.
It says Hootie.
Yeah, see?
That's crap. You're all liars. You're all liars.
Let's hit the phone lines. Let's head up to Dallas. Martin in Dallas. Hey, Martin. Thanks for calling Duncan Holder. What's up, bud?
Hey, man, how y'all doing?
We're good.
I've been listening to the coverage of the game, and the Vikings, they're good at all three levels, So I was saying, okay, so one team come to mind, and that's Seattle. It seems as though the Saints always was up there playing them, and they were always with that crowd. It was always like an unbelievable, seemed like to me, an uphill battle. But one of them I remember, it could have been in 13 during the beginning of the game when one of them broke and hit the ball from Drew Brees. It seems like in these type of games, and I suspect it could be like that. They say they're going to be the loudest they ever been, and they got Pro Bowlers at all three levels. If they can just get through that first part of the game, as I could remember, but Drew and them has played in games that is going to be loud, and they're going to be getting off the ball. So I just was wondering, do you think it's going to be one of them type of situations? Do you think this crowd can get as loud and what's that word, reverberate and deafening as that Seattle crowd can get? Because that was something for Drew for them to overcome. I remember Sean Payton painted out there on the practice field. He was trying to get him, to be able to do this thing, and they just never could get past it. So I was just thinking, I see all the reports, but I was just wondering, would it be a type of game like that? Would they get that loud? Would they get that disruptive? And if so, then they would have to just manage the first part of the game. Don't put the ball on the ground, and don't turn the ball over.
Hey, Martin, appreciate
what you guys think.
Yeah, hey, Martin, appreciate the phone call. I think he's spot on. It's just like that Seattle divisional playoff game, 2013. I know Martin's not alone. I know people who are anticipating this game to be a very similar game. And I think Martin's got a good point. You get through the first wave of maybe get some points, whether it's an early field goal in the first drive, or if you get a touchdown, that would be optimal, obviously. But I think he's right. You get through that first wave and then feel your way into the game and maybe have Minnesota stall a little bit. I think that would be right up the Saints' alley.
Yeah, I think knowing Dennis Allen and Sean Payton, the way they call games, their game plans are going to be aggressive early to try and, as Bobby Aber would say, punch the Vikings in the mouth and put them back on their heels and try to take the crowd out of it if you can. I mean, the crowd's going to be into it. But if you can get an early lead, it certainly helps. And I think it kind of plants a seed of, maybe a seed of confidence in your team and a lack of confidence in the Vikings because they haven't been on this stage before. Certainly Case Keenum hasn't, and they don't want him playing catch-up against the Saints. And I think that'll help the Saints' defense a lot. If they got a lead, they can kind of come after him, whereas if they're playing from behind like they did that whole game almost – in week one, they were kind of playing catch-up the whole time, and they really couldn't turn back their ears on defense.
Right, exactly. Well, Jeff, in your investigative skills, you've discovered quite an interesting – I don't think interesting is the word for it. Basically, a Sean Payton hate piece coming out of a Minnesota Vikings blog. I don't think the Vikings fans feel that too fond of one Sean Payton. Unlike Saints fans, who everyone's hitting the Sean Payton, everyone's doing the zombie walk, whatever he's doing, who knows? But Minnesota, they're not as high on Sean Payton.
I think you and I, and Clyde, you know this too. I mean, the history of the Vikings has been one of heartbreak for the most part in the postseason. They're 0-4 in Super Bowls. We mentioned that they lost the NFC Championship game to the Saints in 2009. And so Eric Thompson, who writes for the DailyNorseman.com, I'm assuming that's a Vikings blog.
Sure, it's a reputable website.
The headline is Vikings versus
Clyde.
I know. He's already taking shots at Eric Thompson. The headline is Vikings versus Saints playoff preview. This time it's personal. Subhead, before previewing the playoff matchup between the Vikings and Saints, we have a few choice words for one of the remaining holdovers from the last time these two teams met in the postseason.
So it's not about Thomas Morstead?
No, it's not about Morstead. It's all about Sean Payton, and this guy just he excoriates Sean Payton, so much so shows a comparison photo comparing him to Ralphie from A Christmas Story.
An adult Ralphie.
Adult Ralphie,
Not
yes,
the
that's
child.
true. And then he actually links the guys at Cat Scratch Reader, which I assume is another blog, but this is a Carolina Panthers blog, and they put together an entire file, a Sean Payton looks like file, which I've never seen before. And it's just a list of Sean Payton looks like the HOA president who measures everyone's lawn with a ruler to make sure it's not over the allotted height. Sean Payton looks like Daniel Craig's stunt double from his James Bond movies. Sean Payton looks like a guy who has a really good deal for a used couch on Craigslist. And it's just a list going on and on. We knew that Sean Payton would rub other teams wrong because he is cocky, let's face it.
What? He is?
But, man,
No.
I didn't realize it went this deep.
An acquired taste.
People hate Sean Payton on opposing teams, but his arrogance, if you want to call it that, or his confidence, however you want to say it.
Braggadocio?
Yes.
Bravado.
His bravado. All that is what has endeared him to Saints fans. So
1 minute.
Yeah, he may be a you-know-what, but as Saints fans would say, he's our you-know-what.
And he's one of those guys where if he's on your team, you love him, you ride with him until the wheels fall off. But if you're on the other side, you absolutely want to see him fall on his face as epically as possible.
Him pulling out the broom, I don't understand why people were so upset about that.
It's a sweep. That happens in baseball. It's
I know. I don't
perfect.
understand why people were upset. They call him.
People just get upset about nonsense.
It's the year of outrage.
Exactly.
I hope not. We were only 12 days into 2018.
It's coming back.
30 seconds.
But, oh, man. But, yeah, look, I wrote it last week how Sean Payton has molded his coaching style, and you could see it's responded. Like, the team has responded beautifully.
Pushed all the right buttons this year.
No doubt about it. Hour number 1 is up. Hour number 2 is on the way. Josh Katzenstein, he'll be coming on here next. So come on back for hour number 2. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Speaking of Sean's
you
boy.
count on your air conditioning to work perfectly and to make your family comfortable.
Huh?
So if you ever have a problem, you want someone who will be there to
Really?
help you right away. At Burkhardt Air Conditioning,
yeah, outside,
we've made with our customers for over 25 years. Our NATE certified technicians provide emergency service for any type and any brand of cooling system. If you need help anytime, call us. We promise to get you up and running again quickly and professionally. And if you're thinking about an upgrade, right now, we'll help you save with quality cooling equipment from Amana. These systems come with incredible warranties, and we have 5 years interest-free financing available now. Plus, our Amana brand HVAC systems are highly efficient. With Burkhardt's 25% energy reduction guarantee, you'll continue saving on utility bills for years to come. Whether it's an emergency repair or a brand new cooling system, we're here to help when you need us. Trust Burkhardt Air Conditioning and Heating. Visit acpromise.com.
WODT WNOE FM HD2 New Orleans. Listen on the free iHeartRadio app. Search Sports 1280. Fox Sports trending now.
Starting with the NFL, after meeting with the Colts about their head coaching vacancy, Baylor's Matt Rule has reportedly told Indianapolis he plans to remain head coach of the Bears, according to NFL Media's Ian Rappaport. The NFL says they're looking into whether the Raiders followed the Rooney Rule when they hired Coach John Gruden to be the next head coach once again. In question seems to be the timeline as to whether owner Mark Davis interviewed the minority candidates before or after he'd already agreed to a deal with Gruden. Steelers running back Le'Veon Bell says he may retire if the team uses the franchise tag on him this upcoming season. That's according to ESPN. And in NBA news, Cavaliers forward LeBron James leads all vote-getters in balloting for the NBA All-Star Game. Warriors star Steph Curry has the most of any player in the West, just ahead of teammate Kevin Durant, who's second in the West. I'm Deb Carson.
Message and data rates may apply. Oh my gosh, that's Frank Thomas. No. Yes, that's him. Go ahead. Excuse me, are you Frank Thomas?
Yes, I am.
I bet you get recognized a lot.
I was a pretty good ball player.
You were?
Some people thought so.
Sorry, we recognize you from those Nugenix commercials.
Oh, yeah? That's great.
So does Nugenix really work?
Oh, yeah. I really can feel the difference. My workouts are better, and I feel a lot more energetic.
I wish my husband would use Nugenix.
It's so easy to get started. All you have to do is send one simple text.
Text the word GRIT to 42424 for a complimentary bottle of award-winning Nugenix, the #1 selling free testosterone booster at GNC. Its unique man-boosting formula is powered by Testofen, a patented key ingredient clinically researched to help a man feel stronger, leaner, more energetic, and more passionate.
And you're going to like the difference, too.
Text GRIT to 42424 for a complimentary bottle of Nugenix. Samples are not available in stores. Text GRIT to 42424.
2018 is an opportunity to grow your business with top talent. But how do you find it? ZipRecruiter. One click posts your job to over 100 job boards. Then, smart matching technology instantly alerts quality candidates about your job. No wonder 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
To try ZipRecruiter for free, just go to ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Walmart giveth and taketh.
All right, 2 minutes.
Same day this week, Walmart announced it was giving employees raises and bonuses because of all the money it's saving from the corporate tax cut. It announced the closing of 63 of its Sam's Club warehouse stores, about 10% of the total nationwide. 10 of the stores closed abruptly Thursday with no notice to employees. Walmart calls it a strategic alignment. Carrier Air Conditioner is following through on the last of its previously announced 600 layoffs at its Indiana factory. The last day for the final 215 was Thursday. The others were given the boot last July. The Indiana plant is retaining about 1,100 other workers instead of its original plan to move them all to Mexico, a deal with the Trump administration in exchange for tax incentives. Planning your travel for this year? Some tips on saving money on airline baggage fees, which can add hundreds of dollars to your trip.
All right, we got Josh in 1 minute.
The freebies. Child car seats and strollers are checked for free. Before you zip them up in their travel bags, pack some items inside. Don't pay for overweight bags. Pack your heaviest items in your carry-on. That way you can pack more in checked bags without going over the 50-pound limit.
You'd be surprised at what lengths I go to on my carry-on.
Try wearing your luggage. If you have a jacket with multiple pockets, pack those full and wear the jacket. You can stow it once you settle in. Book tickets with an airline credit card. Many carriers will waive baggage fees for airline card holders and their companions.
NBC's Bob Hansen reporting, and you might think we should be getting less physical junk mail these days considering the rise of digital advertising, but we're actually getting more. Wall Street Journal says grocers and retail chains have found business drops off when they drop paper mailings, and people still tend to read their mail while ignoring internet banners and email ads. Annual spending on newspaper circulars, coupons, direct mail, and catalogs hit $76 billion last year, 85% more than 5 years ago.
Here we go.
Business News, Joe McConnell, NBC News Radio.
Dunc and Holder, hour number 2 on a Friday, January 12th. Just a heads up, we will be doing our show Monday in Minneapolis at KFan, one of our iHeart Radio sister stations, and we did it there for the Monday night game. We'll be back there this Monday, win or lose, and I know people will be off work for the Martin Luther King holiday, but we will be here to recap all things Saints Vikings on Monday morning. And joining us right here on the show, as he'll be up there with us, of course, covering the NFC divisional round, Josh Katzenstein, NOLA.com, Times-Picayune, and do I call you Minnesota native? Because you're not a native Minnesotian. Is that how you say it?
It's Minnesotan.
Whatever. Lake guy, whatever.
Minnesota bred, I don't know.
Bred, yes, exactly. You were maybe
Bred
raised in Minnesota.
Sounds like a thoroughbred or something, like a horse.
Yeah, but that's like 3 words. That's too long.
Exactly. So, all right.
But
How about
that
that's just Josh. He lived in Minnesota for a while, and now we're heading back up there. And look, you've been in the locker room all week, and to me, this team doesn't feel like a team that's going to walk in this building, U.S. Bank Stadium, with nerves. They seem loose, ready to play, and it really kind of goes along the same track as we've seen all season from this team, the way they've it's almost like they don't know any better, and they're just ready to go play a football game.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's actually a really important factor to the success of this team is that, I've been asking guys, what the few guys that have been around for the 3 straight losing seasons, what it's like now winning, but, they all quickly point out that, most of the guys on the team don't know any better. They weren't here. A lot of their key players this year on the Saints are guys that were, either rookies or second-year players. So at most they were here for, one of the 7 and 9 seasons. And, I mean, this is a team that has had a ton of swagger, since the off season. They play with a ton of confidence. They can't wait, to do something that gives them a reason to celebrate. And, as tough as a task as they know this is, I think, that's their approach this weekend too.
Yeah, Josh, that's exactly the way I felt in the locker room on Wednesday. A very healthy confidence among the players, understanding the challenge, fully understanding it, but I think embracing it. I don't think this team is going to wilt on the stage on Sunday, even though there are a lot of young players that haven't played at this level yet. The guys that are young, that are key playmakers like Alvin Kamara, Marshawn Lattimore, I don't think the big stage is going to affect them whatsoever.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, these are guys, A, that are super confident in their ability, and B, win or lose, they really approach the game, the right way. You didn't mention Sheldon Rankins. I mean, I remember when he was coming through the draft process, one of the big reasons that teams liked him so much is because, he was just a no-nonsense guy. I mean, I think, I'm trying to remember the term. Oh, yeah, teams just called him boring. And that's what you want. I mean, you just want someone that, as they used to say, brings his lunch pail to work and gets the job done. I mean, that's Sheldon Rankins in a nutshell. I mean, he's going to, do whatever he can, regardless. His emotions aren't going to get too high or too low. And then you have a couple other guys, I think that same statement really applies to Kamara, although, that SI story shows that he's not quite boring, the story from a couple weeks ago. But, Mike Thomas and, Marshawn Lattimore, those are guys that are really high-energy guys. They play up the swagger thing. They're out there dancing all the time. And I think, that's something that, that's just how they approach the game, and that's how they get into the right mindset. And obviously it's paid off. So I think, these young guys are really excited for this challenge, and, they're entering this game with a lot of confidence.
Josh Katzenstein covers the Saints for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune, joining us right here on Dunc and Holder. Josh, what do you make of Cam Jordan and his effect going into this game? Look, we know he's basically been a one-man wrecking crew, and yet it seems like he's doing all this crazy antics. Do you think any of that ever gets in the way of his play, and do you feel like he is going to be able to affect Case Keenum in this game?
Yeah, I think so. I think, as good as the Vikings offensive line has been, I don't think their tackles are really, these, Pro Bowl, all-pro level type of guys. I mean, I think they're definitely better than Matt Khalil, of the Panthers, who, Cam Jordan last week called a speed bump.
Speed bump
and
McGee.
Matt Khalil obviously was a first-round pick for the Vikings, and they, went out of their way not to bring him back. So I think these guys are a slight improvement on him, but certainly, they're not the best, blockers that Jordan has faced this season. So I expect him to be effective. The question will be, how much do the Vikings focus on, chipping him at the line or even double teaming him, just knowing that Jordan is, the biggest pass rush threat, by miles on this team. So, we'll see the approach there. But as for, the comic relief stuff, I don't think it gets in the way. Cam Jordan, said yesterday, he's like, I shoot my shot, and then I have to go back it up. And, to this point, he's completely backed it up. He was talking about the triple-double, with sacks, tackles for loss, and passive defense, and he made that happen. He had the bottom line ready to go for Cam Newton, but, I'm sure he wouldn't have been boasting about it had they lost. And then when they won, I see nothing wrong with, pouring a little bit of salt in the wound of a guy that you've, faced for a handful of seasons and one of your top rivals. I mean, we know, that Cam Jordan isn't the first guy to, be this trash-talking type of guy, and I think, he's certainly earned the right to do it.
Josh, the Saints, we all know they didn't establish much of a running game against Carolina. By design, the Panthers were loading the box, forcing the Saints to beat them through the air, and they didn't really run the ball that well in game week 1 against the Vikings. But that was without Taron Armstead. You had Senio Calamente playing right tackle for some of that game because Zach Strief went down. I expect Sean Payton and the offensive staff to try and establish a running game of some sorts. Do you think they can have success with Armstead now in the fold, even though they're not going to have Andres Pete in the lineup?
I think they can, but I'm curious to see how they approach it, just because, I mean, this Vikings defensive line is one of the best the Saints, will face all year and have faced all year. Running up the middle is going to be a challenge, with Linval Joseph in there and the linebackers that they have and Harrison Smith patrolling, on the back end. But certainly I think, we've seen that the Saints, I mean, they were so effective the first 2 games against the Panthers, who really, fit the profile that I just described of having, a strong defensive line with good interior players and then good linebackers. So, unless the Vikings really make an emphasis of taking away the run, I think the Saints should have some opportunities. We'll see how they do with those opportunities. But I think you're absolutely right. I mean, they have to try to establish the run, because if you become one-dimensional against a Mike Zimmer defense, he's just going to bring the dogs almost every play, and he's going to make it really hard for Drew Brees to find his targets.
Josh, which matchup do you think most favors the Saints? Which matchup do you feel like least favors the Saints against the Vikings?
Well, I think the least is pretty easy, and I didn't even realize this until our coworker Herbie Teope brought it up. But I mean, the numbers are staggering when you look at third down offense versus the Vikings' third down defense. I mean, the Vikings had the best third down defense in terms of conversion rate by opponents since, I believe, 1991, like 25.6%, somewhere in there. And the Saints, obviously, we've talked plenty about how, their third down offense has not been great, certainly not up to the standard that, Sean Payton and Drew Brees have set since 2006. I mean, this was their worst third down offense under, the Payton era. And frankly, I do think part of that has been overblown. I looked it up last week, and the Saints actually had their fewest third down attempts of the Payton and Brees era, and that just shows you that they're having so much success on first, second, and fourth down. I mean, they were the best fourth down team in the league. So, and I think part of it is overblown, but certainly in a game like this, every detail matters, and if you can't convert on third downs against a defense like this, it's going to make it, really difficult to put points on the board. In terms of what favors them, I mean, I think it just has to be, their defense against Case Keenum. I think, as well as Keenum has played, this is his first playoff appearance, and he's going to be going against a defense that, the Saints certainly aren't the best defense in the league, but when you have a playmaker like Cam Jordan up front, and when you have Marshawn Lattimore, likely taking away one of his, best targets, whether it's Adam Thielen, whether it's Stephon Diggs, whether it's, mixes and matches throughout the game, I mean, I think it's going to put a lot of pressure on Keenum, to go through his progressions. And, if he struggles at all with that, the Saints, have proven to be opportunistic in terms of taking the ball away.
Yeah, Josh, one of the things I'm looking forward to watching is Harrison Smith, who I think is one of the best defensive players in the league, a veteran free safety, a guy that they move around a lot. And his matchup, and I know it's not a one-on-one matchup, but his matchup with Drew Brees, because Drew Brees, we all know, is this veteran signal caller that can move safeties around the way he, with his eyes and his body language. But I'm not sure how he's going to fool Harrison Smith. I mean, this guy's played a lot of football at a very high level, but how do you see that matchup? And do you think Minnesota is going to use him as kind of a joker, moving him around, or do you think they'll just let him patrol center field and take away the big play, make the Saints move the ball in bites rather than chunks?
I think they'll have to move him around. I mean, it is, Harrison Smith being, sort of the captain of that defense, versus Drew Brees, the captain of the offense. But I mean, the Vikings would be doing themselves a disservice if they don't find a way to get him involved, up closer to the line in the run game or covering Alvin Kamara, on some of these plays. So I think we'll see him, moving around, having different assignments on plenty of plays. I mean, certainly, there will be a lot of times where the Vikings, have him focusing on limiting, the deep passes. So I think, that's going to be a really big challenge for the Saints is finding ways to stretch, the ball down the field, like they did against the Panthers. I mean, that play to Ted Ginn, that was such a huge play in that Panthers game when the offense was struggling. I have a really hard time believing that the Saints are going to have a, 80-yard touchdown or anything close to it, against a defense that has a safety like him. And the cornerbacks are good too. So I think, when you have two cornerbacks like they have with Xavier Rhodes and Trey Waynes, I think, that gives, Mike Zimmer and their defensive coaching staff, a little bit more freedom to do whatever they feel like is best with Harrison Smith on a given play.
Josh Katzenstein covers the Saints for NOLA.com and the Times-Picayune. Of course, we will all be making the trek up to Minneapolis for the NFC divisional round. Sunday afternoon, Saints, Vikings, 3:40 kickoff. Hey, Josh, appreciate the inside, bud.
No problem. When I woke up this morning, it said -6 in Minneapolis. So
Thanks.
Good luck, boys.
Thanks.
I'm
Total
not,
depression.
I'm not going. I give
I'll
up.
take a spot.
I'm not going.
I'll take a spot. I'm ready to go. I'll pack tonight. Ready.
Well, I haven't packed yet either, so I'll probably will pack tonight. So
Okay.
saying.
Well, there you go. See, same thing.
Yeah, there you go. So let's take a break right here on the show, and when we get back, why don't we play a couple of interviews I did? One with Larry Warford, one with Von Bell. Of course, we'll give our keys to victory for the Saints and areas of concern. Also, we'll make our picks through the other divisional games as well. So come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
Your shot at $1,000 now. Text the keyword money to 200-200. You'll get a text confirming entry plus iHeartRadio info. Standard data and message rates apply. That's money to 200-200. Cold, freezing, hard cash. Money in your hot little hand.
You could win $1,000 in your hand. Re-listening every hour, weekdays from 5 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Sports 1280.
If you're a small business, first impressions can make all the difference. With Grasshopper, you get all the features of a professional business phone system on your mobile phone. Choose a business phone number, make calls, and send texts. Stay connected and work from anywhere with features like Wi-Fi calling and our desktop app. Set up your account in minutes with no long-term contracts and 24/7 customer support. Make your small business big. Now get $20 off your first month when you visit grasshopper.com/radio. That's grasshopper.com/radio.
I'm in love with the shape of you.
Ed Sheeran and country superstars Tim McGraw and Faith Hill are all facing a copyright lawsuit targeting a song Sheeran co-wrote
I'm doing
for
one
Hair.
today and the
A
other one
complaint was
tomorrow.
filed in New York federal court by two Australians who
Yeah,
alleged the McGraw-Hill track, The Rest of Our Life, is a blatant copy of their 2014
Ready,
song,
wait.
When I Found You.
Ready,
Sean
eat my
Kelly
hair.
and
Yo,
Bo
go.
Golden state
Eat
in
it.
their complaint that the copying
Gross.
is, in many instances,
What?
verbatim,
Acts like
note for note.
I'm not the only one. There are people on the YouTube stream that were like, why do y'all have that? That's gross.
David Letterman is making his way back to TV screens.
Gross.
with
No
a
problem
new
with the hair.
Netflix
Gross.
show.
What's wrong with it? It's just
My
hair.
next guest needs
They
no
got some
introduction.
grays in
With
there.
But the hair's on your head. All of a sudden, it's
hour-long
okay.
episode featuring
Like you
Barack
wouldn't touch
Obama.
I'm
somebody
looking at my
else's.
haircut today. I'm not gonna go just like, oh hey, let me
all
make
over
up-
fade.
all over fade, bro.
All over fade. Here we
Look
go.
good today, dog.
Popeye
I'll be
fade.
looking like Larry,
This is
except
probably
better with the
Oh,
fade.
that seemed like a jab.
And
Little jab there.
Prince
Time to
Jab.
snide.
Come up and
By the way, I was
dance.
totally gonna text Jeff. I was gonna tweet something to Jeff last night about not all of your basketball teams at Louisville are terrible. Your women's team is very good. They
They're
put that
always
beat
good.
down. They put that beat down on Notre Dame last
They're
night.
19-0.
Woo.
Yeah, they are. They've been in the Final Four like
Other guests
two
this
of the last
season include
4
George
years or
Clooney,
something.
That's actually
Bang
correct. They
Jay-Z.
actually have.
They've been in the championship game. They always have to play UConn.
The Foo Fighters
Where's
are
Simone
set to perform
Augustus?
on the Brit Awards stage.
She is in
for the
Minnesota.
first
Bring her
time.
back.
Augustus.
She is in
Sylvia
Minnesota.
Fowles, we need
She
her.
is also in Minnesota. She's with the Lynx.
Well, I walk into the room, ask the
This is Dunc and Holder on Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Let's hear from Larry Warford and Von Bell. I had a chance to catch up with each of those two players in the locker room. Which one would you like to start off with? Because one is...
I like Larry Warford. I'm a Larry Warford guy.
You're a Larry Warford guy?
Even though he went to Kentucky.
Who was on the Larry Warford train first?
What I mean is I like dealing with him. He's a smart guy. He's well-spoken. He's been around the block, so he knows how the game's played. I like him. Unfortunately, he went to Kentucky.
Well, also, I got to say, there's an assist in there by a rival as far as in the media. So in this interview, a media rival. So Nick Underhill, the Advocate, got to give him a shout out because I let him ask 2 questions, and it's
okay.
And they were good questions, all about third down. So that's why I was like, let's leave him in here because we've been talking a lot about third down. And so, all right, so Jeff chose his Kentucky Wildcat favoritist guard to ever play football in the history of the sport. Let's hear from Larry Warford.
So, slightly different Saints team this time than going in week 1. I feel like I don't even recognize the team.
Yeah, a little different, you know. Still trying to figure out our identity. Early on that first game, it was just wasn't there yet, and slowly came along, and we're here now. So it's gonna be a different game.
Well, especially offensive line-wise. I mean, that game, I don't think you've played a live snap with Max. I know Teron was out, Zach was in, and you guys have played the musical chairs game all season. And this is old hat for you guys, right?
Yeah, I mean it's been going on this whole season, and luckily we've had guys in our room who can step up at any time and fill in our fill in at any point, and there's no real drop off. That's just a testament to the leadership that's in that room, man. And they've been a vital part of this team and this offense.
When you look at this team now, I mean, compared to then, how far have you guys come?
Long way. I feel like our cohesion is spot on, and we work really well with each other. We understand each other a lot better than we did beginning of the season, and it shows. We've been successful. We're still growing. It's a never-ending process, and we're going to continue to grow. So.
What about the fact that you guys have actually played in U.S. Bank Stadium, so it's not some place you've never been in before?
It helps to be familiar with where you've played. Especially with that stadium, it's very loud. When I was in Detroit, I played there. First year, and it was. They get into it. The crowd's into it, and just to have that familiarity with it, it helps a bunch. And we're preparing for all the noise, and we have to just can't shoot ourselves in the foot and let that affect us in the game.
What about having played a playoff game already? I mean, do you feel like that could be an advantage for you guys, that you've been in the atmosphere, like the do or die stage already?
Yeah, I mean, it helps. You kind of understand what it's going to feel like, and the intensity, how it's ramped up, even more so than the regular season is, and especially the young guys, they understand it now. It's just like, oh, okay, so this is the type of atmosphere we're in, and I think it's going to help us in the long run.
Do you see anything specific they do on third down that's made them so successful?
They're just so sound, assignment sound, and they don't get too too out of position or too mixed up in all the noise and all that. And they're just really poised all the time. They're just so sound. That's about it. They're just well coached.
Are they one of the better teams at attacking the interior that you'll face throughout the year?
I missed that.
Just some of the blitzes they do on the interior line. Do they stress you guys in there a little bit more than most teams?
Zimmer, yeah. He has a lot of stuff, installed all the time, and he's well known. They do a lot of junk to mess with the O-line and backs and the quarterbacks, and we just have to prepare the way we prepared this whole week, and we'll take care of it.
I don't want to say it's a good thing, but is there any silver lining to some of the injuries you guys have faced with Pete going out, to just have that experience with Cineo being in there at this point in the season? Is there a benefit to that?
It's been like that all season. Everybody's been, banged up, except I think Max and Ryan are the only ones that haven't missed a snap. And even with Ryan, he's played either side on left and right, I believe. Didn't he? Yeah, he played left first game. Yeah. But, just having that experience throughout the whole year, just made it so much easier for us throughout the season. And, guys who come in, as the backup, they don't get all, riled up and just, jittery or whatever. They're in here, like, they just gel so perfectly. And, it's really been vital to our offense.
Is it?
And we've talked about the musical chairs on the offensive line, and Larry Warford's been part of that. Missed a game with a concussion. Well, missed part of a game with a concussion. He was able to return and then dealt with some injuries otherwise as well too. But I feel like the way that the Saints have been able to overcome that, even against, say, a team like Minnesota, I think even though they don't have Andres Pete, even though they don't have Zach Strief, that this line, the five guys who would be lining up starting, Teron Armstead, Senio Kelemete, Max Unger, Larry Warford, and Ryan Ramczyk, I think they, heads up, they could succeed against really anyone in the NFL.
No doubt about it. I think it's one of the biggest factors in this game, and one that's being overlooked. I think in all the crazy matchups, the sexy matchups are the perimeter, Mike Thomas and Xavier Rhodes and Harrison Smith against Drew Brees. But I think the Saints' offensive line, the fact that Teron Armstead's back, you got Ryan Ramczyk now a full season under his belt at right tackle, and Max Unger now full strength when he wasn't, as you mentioned earlier, at center. I think the Saints are going to try and control the line of scrimmage and run the ball and do the play-action passing game and be balanced, and I think it's going to be the key to the game. If the Saints can run for, say, 120 to 140 yards rush, I think they win the game. If they're down in the single, the double digits, 40, 50 yards, I think it's going to be a long afternoon.
That's easier said than done, though, against Minnesota.
Yep.
They are second in the NFL in rushing defense, only allow 83.6 yards a game. And, some of those stats you might say, all right, that's skewed because they're winning a lot of time and teams have to throw. But yards per play, they only allow as far as rushing yards per play, they only allow 3.67 yards. That is fifth in the NFL. So it's not that teams have to throw against them because they're behind. They can stop it in the initial wave at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, and I don't think they have to load the box and do all these crazy scheme things, X's and O's. They just feel like their personnel is better than your personnel, and they're going to whip you man to man. And I think the Saints' offensive line is more than up to the test. I'm really looking forward to seeing that matchup because I think that's going to be the key to the Saints scoring enough points, which is huge. I mean, they've got to be able to score into, the low 20s. And that's not, as you said, it's easier said than done. Hardly anybody does it against this team.
Exactly. All right, let's take a phone call, and then we'll take a break right here on the show. Let's go to West Bank Rick. What's up, West Bank Rick? Thanks for calling Dunc and Older.
Hey, thanks for taking my call. And I wanted to hop on that offensive line. The only person that really played all the way through this season is Max Unger. And all the other people have been changing in and out throughout the whole season. You talk about Minnesota and their defense, but their division, if you compare their division to our division, their division kind of like, I ain't going to say suck, but it's not as good as
not as
all the rest of the other
competitive.
division.
Not as competitive.
Right.
Yeah. I agree. I totally agree. Yeah.
So I could see their numbers looking like that when you're playing people like Detroit, the Green Bay without Aaron Rodgers, and Chicago. Really. And then I called Behind Enemy Lines yesterday, 100.3, I think it was, just to express that how we was coming back down there and how they felt about the 09 when they played us. And they still, and I mean like a woman who still want that man who left her for another younger girl. Still bitter about the loss they had down here and what we did to Brett Favre. And the next thing I want to say is they also played a song for Case Keenum, talking about we got that case.
Case Keenum has a song? You get
kind of catchy.
West Bank Rick, you should have just ripped them for that. Case Keenum does not deserve a song.
Well, they do have one of the favorite singers of pop I love down there is Prince, the beloved Prince.
Yes, but
so
that Prince,
really R.I.P.
That Prince Viking song
Prince
is like, it's one of the worst songs I've ever heard. It's awful.
Oh my God!
It's so bad.
The touchdown song. Touchdown song.
I mean, it makes me want to like weep. It's so sappy.
Everybody
and sad.
has one, guys. Everybody has one.
It's so sappy and sad. Well, West Bank Rick, I applaud you for, and I think 100.3 might be K-Fan. It might be our sister iHeart station that we'll be broadcasting from on Monday. So, West Bank Rick, hey,
give a shout out to the YouTubers, bro.
There you go. Appreciate the call, West Bank Rick. And that song is so bad.
It was really bad.
Play that before? Didn't David play that early in our Duncan Holder tenure?
Yeah,
probably week 1.
It's horrible, right?
It's so bad.
I think we need a little version of Taking It to the Top, just to kind of, before the show's over, I don't know if we can pull that out, but we need a little version of that. We're getting ready to take it to the top here with the Saints.
Well, it might come down to a field goal. Will Lutz, and look, I chatted with him briefly in the locker room, and he's ready for the moment. He's ready. He hopes it comes down to him having to drill a field goal because he's locked in.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look how quickly Dave comes up with this.
You shall receive.
There we go. So why don't we take a break right here on the show? When we get back, play a little short interview with Von Bell. We'll get some of the keys to the game and what matchups favor the Saints the best, which are the worst, and
we'll take it to the top.
We will take it to the top of the 12 o'clock hour. Eric Asher will follow us. So come on back here, Sports1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. This is so good. Melodic, as Morton Anderson
So bad, it's good.
Just like us here, Duncan Holder.
So Norwegian.
You can hit the Sean Payton with the song.
See, that's the thing too. It's just the fact that the songs are just so there's too much bass for them. There's too much
Happy Friday from the Fox
movement.
Weather
Like you
Center.
need something like this that's very
Shelby Latino. A windy and colder day on tap as temperatures stay in the 40s, but feel like the 30s.
No, I'm telling you, the Sean Payton song is good. It's just that his hips and body can't move
and
to the
temperatures
beat.
tonight under clear skies will drop into the 20s on the
but
North
like
Shore
Take to the Top
and
though
low
is very
30s on the South
on
Shore.
point.
From the Fox 8 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Shelby Latino. Have a great day.
Rock and Roll Marathon Series is gearing up for the best year yet in 2018. This best-in-class
like love and you want it.
This is where everything you love about running comes
to the top.
music
Cool
motivate
like a
you, and
dove.
bands and fans line the course. Register now. Run rockandroll.com.
Attention all women who've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. In February 2016, Johnson...
What's going on here?
Cancer after 35 years of using the talcum
Jeff's
baby
battle
powder
cry.
product.
Coos like a dove.
He coos like a dove.
Why'd they say when you
Jeff wants world peace?
Louisville fighting pigeons.
gobble like a turkey?
Cancer. If you or a family member has been diagnosed
Fighting
with ovarian
gobblers.
cancer and
That's
used
Virginia Tech.
to shower baby powder prior to the diagnosis, call Talcum Baby Powder Helpline today. 800
Speaking of the Sean Payton song, yeah, we're going to hear a little bit of it when we
you
play
may
Von
be
Bell.
entitled to
Like
substantial
2
compensation. The consultation is free, and you'll pay nothing unless there is a recovery in your favor. If you or a loved one used
I like
talcum
talking
baby
with
powder-based
Von Bell.
products
I don't
before
do
being
it. I like Von
diagnosed
Bell. I
or
don't do it
died
as
from
often as I
ovarian
should.
cancer, call Talcum Baby Powder Helpline today. 800-457-3280.
Well, he's a guy who figures he'd be around a while.
800-457-3280. 800-457-3280.
Howdy, folks. I'm Colonel Sanders. When I told folks my signature KFC pot pie was filled with delicious Kentucky Fried Chicken, veggies, and topped in a golden flaky crust and only cost $3.99, they said I was crazy. And maybe I was, because that was 1980, and $3.99 was a lot of money back then. But today, getting a meal that size for just $3.99 is a really great deal. So stop into a KFC and get yourself a pot pie. It's finger-licking good. At participating KFCs for a limited time. Prices may vary.
West Bank
Tax
Rick
extra.
said he called behind enemy lines.
Go back enemy lines.
Users will start seeing.
Did y'all hear yesterday's shows though? I mean, Gordy got a whole bunch of people called from Minnesota. I mean, it was nuts. We had a bunch of Minnesota people calling in. Like saying everybody's, checking in on the enemy behind enemy lines.
Interesting. At inventory.
Yeah, because we had two of them. It's too funny because Gordy was trying to tease them or mess with them, but they're so damn polite that you felt like you were being
so damn polite.
They were insanely polite.
Now show up in the in-car.
Wouldn't be that way if it was Falcons fan. It'd be
it'd be on
everywhere. Fancy indoor workout.
Yeah, I think I caught a little bit of Gordy's show when he had people on.
Yeah.
But golly, let me tell you, that 2 to 4 slot,
classes taught by instructors live from New York City.
The fact that he's there,
options to take, for example, a
such
10-minute class focused on your arms or a 60-minute boot camp style.
It's like you want to listen to the show.
Trev will run you $4,000 and $39 a month for the classes. Tech Report, Larry Olson, NBC News Radio. Whether you ride the wave or like to growl, we're talking your teams. Sports 1280, New Orleans.
Welcome back, Dunc and Holder. If you missed any of the show, sports1280.com, NOLA.com, iTunes, SoundCloud. We got it back up and rolling. Our joyous listeners who jump on that feed. So we got as soon as it popped up, one person's like, "You're back on iTunes, yes!" So they were fired up about it.
Okay. They were really big about
Joyous. I like it.
Joyous. So yeah, fired up. So iTunes, SoundCloud, and our YouTube page. And of course, you can go on the iHeartRadio app. Go search our podcast. It's all over there. You can catch it on the phone.
Place.
We're everywhere.
That's some slide song choice by Dave there, seeing as how LSU just announced Greg McMahon as assistant
special
coach
teams
on
coach?
Special teams coach.
You knew that was going to happen.
There's a method to my madness.
Yes.
Clearly.
So
must have known.
So I'm sure LSU fans are fired up that the guy that the Saints had to get rid of, that he's their guy now.
Oh, we got to go there?
I don't think that they know yet.
What do you want me to do?
They probably don't know yet, but it's okay.
Greg McMahon has a really good reputation as a coach. I don't know, if it's merited with the results or if it's even his fault, but I know in league circles, he's regarded as one of the best special teams coaches in the league. So it's a good get, obviously, for Ed Orgeron, so he doesn't have to do the coaching. The way it was set up last year was kind of a Band-Aid makeshift thing. I don't think it was ever going to work.
You could argue what they're doing right now is Band-Aid makeshift at offensive coordinator. I don't even want to go into that because we could derail the conversation.
I'm very skeptical.
Which is what we normally do on Fridays.
No, normally we're very NFL heavy.
So no, that's true.
But we talked about it yesterday. You have to think about it this way, I think, for LSU fans. What top coordinator is going to go to LSU unless they overpay and just throw a ton of money at them? Coaches are smart. They're thinking 1, 2, 3 years down the road, and they're looking at LSU as something of a dumpster fire right now. That schedule is really tough next year. The roster is pared down. I think 7-5 is what you're looking at, and the heat is going to get turned up on Ed Orgeron, and I think they're going to have – I think that's why they had to settle as they did on Steve Ensminger, because I don't think they could attract a top candidate in here, because I don't think anyone's going to take that job knowing that this could be a one-year thing.
I also don't think that LSU wanted to open up the vault again and let Ed Orgeron hire a guy, get rid of him the next year, and have to pay out more money, because I'm sure Ensminger is exponentially cheaper.
But they could, though.
Well, I'm sure they could. But
at
some point, when do you stop the madness?
But like T. Martin, I read where reportedly T. Martin at USC talked to LSU and nothing ever materialized.
Yeah, Orgeron admitted that.
Okay.
That he.
If you're T. Martin, why do you
chats?
Well, why do you leave Southern Cal? It's a stable situation for the most part, and go into this potentially 1-year tenure. I don't think you leave.
In that situation, yes, but clearly, obviously, he's angling to get back in the SEC and maybe get an SEC coach. I mean,
that job will be there, though. That job will be there down the road.
You go back to the SEC, you go back into that conference.
For what, a year?
For a year.
I think everybody's looking at this as this thing could blow up on LSU. The AD could be gone. The head coach could be gone. And I don't want to be any part of that. So they're going to wait and see. Now, if and the Tigers surprise everybody and they have a strong season and Mike the Tiger's roaming around the cage, prowling the scene, and everything's going well in Baton Rouge,
Barry and Metairie.
They might get better candidates. But right now, I don't think anybody's going to toss their hat in the ring, especially after what went down with Matt Canada. I don't think it's going to happen.
Let's hit the phone lines. 504-260-1280 is the number to get involved. Let's head to Metairie. Let's talk to Barry. Hey, Barry, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. What you got?
Hey, Larry. Hey, Mr. Jeff Duncan. I used to call you show when you was with Gus Catfield.
Oh, yeah, I remember you, Barry. Good to hear from you.
The Hangover, remember?
Oh, thankfully I'm not hungover today. So
we got Terry and Slidell too.
Well, congratulations on your new addition to your family, man.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it.
You the reason why I call it is, I love LSU. I love LSU football, but I think one of the biggest problems with LSU is the fans. I mean, they on and off that wagon so quick. I went to the Troy State game this year, and granted, it was Troy State, but I don't see a lot of this going on in other universities, where the fans, leave at halftime and walking out of the stadium and they're using every word, if you know what I'm saying. They're mad because LSU should be blowing Florida State out. That stadium was half empty at a halftime, and by the end of the third quarter, it was about a third full. Do you think coaches and players want to go to that university with the way the fans have been? I mean, hearing all this stuff last year was a disaster. They were 9-3. There's only one national champion a year. One a year. They got 119 D1 schools, and they want to talk about LSU. I don't think last year 9-3 was a disaster for LSU. I believe that if you're 9-3 and you have a top 10 recruiting class, that's a pretty good program. The fans need to stick behind Ed Orgeron. If they want to get coaches that want to be here, they need to take a look at themselves. I'm telling you, LSU fans, they're tough, and they set you standing at the less miles. You got to win over 85% of your games. You think coaches are going to want to come? I'm going to ask you guys a question as it relates to LSU fans and the coaches. What do you think the fans would have been saying if Jimbo Fisher was at LSU this year, like he was at Florida State, ranked third in the country, and didn't even finish in the top 12, and finished 6-6? What do you think LSU fans would have been saying? They all say they would have wanted him to come here. I want to get y'all opinion on that. How you think LSU fans would react to that situation?
Preach.
All right, Barry, appreciate the phone call, and you,
That
Jeff,
is fantastic.
You guys officially derailed the conversation.
Sorry, I didn't.
Well, no, look, Barry, make a good point. I personally was not an endorser of Jimbo Fisher. I thought it was going to be a disaster.
You were all in on Tom Herman.
Right.
You never wavered.
And I don't think Jimbo Fisher is going to be a success at Texas A&M. And when I say successful, I mean, national title contender. That's what I consider to be success.
That they want, that they're paying for, that they have no guarantee that they'll get.
And that needs to be pointed out. Everybody points out, 9-3. This LSU went to a bowl game. That's successful. That is successful at most programs. But LSU is paying their coaching staff more than any other coaching staff in college football. At least they used to.
Terry
I know
Slidell.
Under Les Miles.
Gary.
Their revenues
Slidell.
are their aspirations and expectations are to be in the hunt to win a national title. The resources are there, not only from the athletic department, but also in this state with the players that they produce. So there's no reason why this program should not contend for a national championship at least every other season or every 2 or 3 seasons. We see what's going on in Georgia now. They're going to be in the mix. And Alabama's there every year, and I think LSU fans rightfully think their program should at least be in that mix every 2 or 3 years, and they haven't been for a while.
Let's go back to the phone lines. Terry and Slidell. Terry, thanks for calling Dunc and Holder. I know Terry and Slidell. He heard LSU talk, and he jumped right in. I know it. What's up, Terry?
Right. That previous caller, that's the typical Louisiana person, the whole state, mediocrity. There's no such thing as not national championship. 9-3 ain't worth it. National championship of us. You tell an Alabama fan, we went 9-3. Oh, God, what a terrible year. Tell the New England Patriots they didn't win the Super Bowl. That's a terrible year. 9-3 is terrible. I need y'all to ask Coach Orgeron a question. I don't know if he'll answer it, but ask Coach this question. Coach, if Steve Enslinger was the best offensive coordinator, then why did LSU waste $4 million hiring Matt Canada? Okay? This is terrible. Joe Oliva's got to go. Orgeron's got to go. The only coach that can stay at LSU right now is Will Wade. I'm telling you what.
You got Gary Slidell.
Program, okay? The football team, I had a question after the Citrus Bowl if Coach Orgeron was a gelding because he didn't go for it on 4th and inches. I mean,
Lord.
you know, did he have did he have an operation before the game? I'm sorry.
Fire.
It's not acceptable.
We got a Vambo in New Orleans. It's like Rambo with a V.
You know what a perfect season for an LSU fan is? They go undefeated in football, win the national championship, and fire the coach, and that'll be a perfect trifecta because LSU fans will never be satisfied. And 9-3 is not acceptable. And that previous caller said something about leaving stadiums. He must have never been to another college stadium in Baton Rouge because I've been to every stadium in the SEC plus a lot more. And you know that, Larry.
I know.
At halftime when they're getting beat by 42.
Terry, I know, man. I feel the venom. Terry, appreciate the phone call.
That's the only thing. That's the only thing I agree
Terry,
with.
Gary, now Larry.
And one more. Rambo
with a but Gary's
we haven't gotten to Gary yet.
Let's go to Gary and Slidell. You guys have
off the rails.
Started.
I told you.
You and Jeff started this.
Hello.
Hey Gary, what's up?
Hey, what's up, man?
Hey Gary.
It's Can I get a Pelican question in?
Sure.
Yeah, I was I want to ask y'all about the coaching situation. What y'all think?
Well, that's a good question. I think that Alvin Gentry is on the ropes. I don't know if they would make a change mid-season, though, Gary. That the Saints Pelicans management and ownership just they don't pull the trigger mid-season on coaches. They at least historically haven't.
They lower you by a fault, I think.
Yeah, I mean we've seen that. Yeah, we've definitely seen that before. Hey Gary, appreciate the phone call. And yeah, look, once the football season's over, we're going to be talking about futures of GM, of the head coach, and it will all be valid.
If you fire Alvin Gentry midseason, then you're blowing up. Basically, you're effectively saying you're blowing up the team, and you're giving up any chance of making the playoffs.
You're not doing
I don't
that
think that's
yet.
going to happen.
No, if
people need to know that.
When it would be after the season. All right, let's do one more quick phone call, and then we got to take a final break. Let's go to Vanbo in New Orleans. Vanbo, thanks for calling the show. What you got?
How you guys doing today?
We're good. It's got spicy here all of a sudden. I thought we were talking about happy joy Saints Vikings, and all of a sudden, pitchforks and torches here.
Okay, well, I want to say something about LSU and about you guys, too.
Okay.
LSU is just suffering through. You have Nick Saban, the god of college football. When he's gone, LSU can aspire to something more. In the meantime, they need to be happy. If they win 9 games, they need to be ecstatic. If they win 9 games with Ed Orgeron, they need to be doing jumping ropes out in parking lots.
Doing the Sean Payton.
That's just the way it is.
Why do you say that, Vambo? Why? I mean, you don't think that this program can aspire to be a national championship caliber program?
I think they can aspire to be, but I don't think they're gonna be as long as Nick Saban is around, and they're certainly not going to be with Ed Orgeron. And one other thing I wanted to say. If you guys ever decide to pull an Eric Asher and move to another station, I think you should rebrand the show as Blue Eyes and Baldy.
That's not going to happen, I can assure you.
But who's who? Who's going to be who? I've got gorgeous blue eyes, and Jeff?
I know Jeff has blue eyes because they light up when he hits a superfecta at the racetrack or a pick 4.
Degenerate behavior, I love it.
Your ball head.
My eyes would light up if I ever did that. I mean, Jeff would win.
That's a very rare occurrence that they're lighting up, I can tell you that.
All right, great phone call. Appreciate it. Man, this show's going bonkers.
I love it. That's how Fridays need to be, man.
Blue eyes and Baldy.
There you go. All right, one more segment. I got to squeeze in a little interview I did with Von Bell. Then we will make our NFC and AFC divisional round picks final segment here. Great show on a Friday here, so come on back. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeart Radio app. Dunc and Holder.
Howdy, folks.
Wow.
I'm Colonel Sanders.
What the hell happened? I wasn't expecting to go that far.
Y'all did this. Once I heard who was calling in, like, I recognized right away.
It was like, oh, crap, here we go.
No, I knew Barry and Metairie, and I knew Terry inside out. I was like, this is going to go off the rails.
A lot of money.
Oh, wow.
Terry, and Barry. For just $3.99.
Both of those,
Barry, Barry, Bofana,
Terry. I've talked with both of those guys for years. Obviously, they're like,
KFC's for a limited time.
Yes, I remember.
Tax extra.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
It's the 7th annual Horses,
Wow.
Hops, and Cops
Wow.
fundraiser to benefit the NOPD's Mounted Division. Horses.
All right, 1 minute.
Be Monday, January 29th at 1001 Harrison Avenue in City Park. This is a free event for all ages. Enjoy food, music from the wise guys.
Listen to that voice.
World famous
So
Budweiser.
sexy.
Yeah, so it doesn't sound at all grungy and
persuasive.
Yeah, like man, like this, the guy who must be doing this voiceover must be a really nice, upstanding gentleman.
Horses, hops, and
You're damn right.
Trade this season.
And then Dave comes on.
Lottery. Win up to $12,000. Get in the second line and ask for Fat Tuesday at any lottery retailer today. Must be at least 21 to purchase.
for over.
Oh, I love this guy.
Here we go.
City, where it's always
Oh my gosh, I'm falling
is
under
a
a
New Orleans
spell.
tradition.
I'm feeling the itis.
I cannot help myself. I have
food in
to
the
go to Mandina's.
Ways Mandinas.
Oh my gosh. I'm crying.
Falling under a spell.
That's what it sounds like. He's hypnotizing you or something.
Right.
Look at the watch.
We're
Stare at
crying.
the watch.
We're crying here at Duncan Holder because Jeff was so mystified by Corey Johnson. What did you say?
I'm falling under a spell.
He's been like spellbound by Corey.
But the delivery was so good.
Corey's
It was
hypnotic,
so good.
hypnotic commercials.
Oh my
You will eat the almondine sauce.
That's right. You will swim in the crawfish cream sauce. You will. Jeffrey.
Bathe in the garlic butter.
Let's go to Von Bell before we forget and run out of time. I had a chance to catch up with Von Bell. We had a little fun, and of course, we talked a little football. So just 2 minutes. So let's hear from Von Bell.
Exactly. I need Von Bell hair now. My hair's all gone. But obviously, you're going to play probably more than what? I think you might have played 8 or 9 snaps last game. I think you're going to be playing six. Exactly.
I'll never forget.
A little different game for you going into this, right?
It's time.
Yeah. It's time for what?
Action plays to be made.
Mm-hmm.
Out there with my brothers.
How jazzed up are you guys? I mean, just for this opportunity. I mean, it's, Final 8.
Finally, but it's a blessing. We give all the glory to God first for being in this opportunity. So, because guys been in this locker room playing 8+ years, haven't been in the postseason, so you just got to cherish the moment. And especially with your guys, you out there, your brotherhood, you out there. So, you know what I mean?
I mean, are y'all going to be doing the Sean or what? I mean, Craig wants to do the Sean
You know
the
what
whole
I'm
time. It's more popular than the dab, I guess, right? Since
Right
y'all
now,
just
dude.
eliminated the dab?
Oh, it's over with. It's over with.
But being able to see those guys again, you saw them in week 1. Obviously, no one would have known at that point. You guys would be at this point, but to be back there, same spot.
We
how's
on.
it feel? Yep.
We on. That's all we know. We lost. That guy had over 300 yards passing. He was like 28 32. So that's all I remember.
Yeah.
And we on. So
yeah.
We got to go to work.
How much does the chemistry play a role? The fact that you guys have now played 16, 17 games together and kind of know each other better as a secondary and as a defense?
It's huge, being out there with your guys, but we still got the next man up mentality still because we all get the same reps at practice. We all preparate the same, we all meet at the same time and just watching film and going over things and key staple plays they run, and we gotta go execute out there in practice. So it's really like the next man up, but the chemistry is there too. So we know each other, we know how each other play, we know we try to be on the same page with the calls and everything. So.
Is it?
The interview was more about how rambunctious and just, I don't know, they're feeling good. They could have fun and have a good time going into this week, not be too nervous.
It sounded like a second line was going through the.
That was Craig Robertson blasting with this boom box. That's how he wasn't even really that close to me, and it was like blasting. It was so loud.
That's awesome.
They're ready to go.
Mardi Gras, look, this team's confident.
Revelry.
But they're not overconfident. They know what they're getting into. I like their mental approach to this game, their mindset. I don't think either team, I don't think this is going to be a blowout either way. I'll be shocked if the game gets away.
Let's go lightning round here real quick. We got to get our picks in. I'll just do them.
2 minutes.
I've got the spread in front of me. Atlanta, Philadelphia. Atlanta's a 3-point favorite. Clyde, who you got?
Atlanta straight up.
I will go Atlanta straight up as well. Jeff is not going to go that
Eagles.
route.
I think it's the best bet of the NFL season, the Eagles.
Lock of the year. Tennessee, New England. New England minus 13.5. Jeff, who you got?
Tennessee to cover. Patriots win.
New England is going to beat them maybe by 50. Who you got?
I'm going with New England beating the brakes off of Tennessee.
Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is a 7-point favorite.
I like the Steelers big.
I am going to go Jacksonville to cover, Steelers to win.
Same thing. Jacksonville to cover, keep it close, but Pittsburgh still wins. Yep.
All right, Saints, Vikings. Now a 5-point favorite.
The line is going to Minnesota. The American public's on the Vikings. I love the Saints. I think they win the game straight up.
I have also picked the Saints reluctantly to win straight up. I just, why go against them? Look at me. I mean, I've already paid the price for doubting. Why should I doubt anymore? Saints 23, Vikings 20. Clyde, who you got?
Saints need to score first. They need to clearly do my big and excuse me.
1 minute.
The biggest thing is the Saints secondary against Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. I think that matchup this weekend will be better than it was that first weekend. Saints 21, Vikings 17.
All right, so we're all picking the Saints.
We're a bunch of homers.
So we're going to be in Philadelphia, according to you.
Yes.
According to
we're going to be back
us
in the dome,
two, we'll
baby.
be back here, taking on the Falcons. My goodness. All right, well, great show today.
Safe travels up, guys.
Seconds.
Yeah, I want to thank Knox Bardeen from 92.9 The Game in Atlanta. I want to thank Will Guillory and Josh Katzenstein from NOLA.com, the Times-Picayune. All right, we'll be up in Minneapolis. We'll be doing our show Monday from Minneapolis. So
20.
Come on back and look. Following us today, Eric Asher. So I'm sure he'll be geeked up for this game as well. So great show, guys. And we will be back with you on Monday here. Sports 1280, NOLA.com, and the iHeartRadio app. Dunc and Holder.
All right, guys.
Screwed up on. I meant to get this.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it,
I
bro.
this interview.
Safe travels
to David.
Homeowners
Thanks, buddy.
Jeff,
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
I screwed up. I had that
challenge
interview
going
with
around where
Morstead
people have
where
been posting numerous
where he
videos
talked about,
finding various ways to
he
consume
said-
them. They've been cutting
he said,
open
like,
laundry
played the
pods to
disrespect
drink the
card. He
liquid,
said,
cooking them up as
people-
pizza ingredients, and
people
even
started 0-2,
smoking
people
them.
jumped off the bandwagon,
NFL
we got
Hall of Fame
reporters
quarterback
shaking their
Brett
heads.
Favre
I said that.
I
forgot to send that.
That
We
puts
got
the focus
reporters
on
shaking
concussion
your
in
head.
sports.
I know.
Favre notes
You
it's
blew it.
important
I
to
know. I
that
totally
many
blew it. I was trying to
concussions in sports
call
are
it up real
caused by
quick
the
and send
ground.
it. I just can't believe I did that. I think I got it.
You've had it for